Welcome to the Chris Webber Show. I'm your host, Chris Webber. I was just sitting here in my office at my desk and thinking about what a great weekend I just had. I was part of something special with my Fab Five brothers, Jalen, Jawan, Jimmy, Ray, as we reunited to be part of a special broadcast of the Michigan versus Arizona game. This past weekend, I got to reunite with friends that I've not only made an incredible impact with, but with whom I share some of my most wonderful memories. And to me, that's what this time of year is all about. It's March Madness, the time of memories, good and bad. The culmination of a process that started months earlier, and the brass audacity to dream. About a week ago, before the Final Four, I sat down with my friend that I dreamed of being in the NBA with. A friend of over 30 years, Grant Hill. I hope you enjoy our conversation as we tell stories, reminisce, and discuss family, loyalty, Coach K, Duke, bad haircuts, college visits, the dream team, and so much more. Join me as my brother David shares his thoughts on Grant's inspiring act of kindness. The moment after the championship game in 1992, when Grant gave Dave his uniform from his second title at Duke. And watch something truly special unfold as David returns his most prized possession as a sign of gratitude. This show exists to inspire you, to inspire others, to encourage, to be thoughtful, to be generous. You never know how far a sincere gesture can go. Welcome to the Chris Webber Show.
And now let's meet the starting lineups. For Michigan at forward, a 6'9" freshman from Detroit, Michigan, number 4, Chris Webber. For Duke at forward, a 6'8" sophomore from Reston, Virginia, number 33, Grant Hill.
Well, this is an awesome moment for me. My first interview in a podcast, and my longtime friend Grant Hill. I mean, you came up here on your own. You wouldn't let me bring you up here, wouldn't let me have a car and do this, man. I just want to tell you, I've always appreciated our friendship, but really appreciate you showing up and being here for me. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. And it's the first time I'm on a court with you where I'm not nervous.
Yeah, right. Get out of here, man. Speaking of, so the great thing about interviewing you is I know you so well, but then in research I found out there's a lot of things you don't know.
Right.
And I just want to start off by talking about your family and your friendship, in almost a chronological area because, you know, we've known each other a long time. But when I first met you, I had this idea that you were from this family that was rich, maybe wasn't in tune. I don't know. Whatever stereotypes you could have of someone who had famous parents.
Right.
Before we get into it, has that always been an issue of you kind of being kind of misperceived because of the hard work and success of your father, a great football player, your mother, a wonderful educator and executor?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I mean, you go back. I mean, we first met when we were 13. And our dads met when we played each other in St. Louis. And it was funny because my dad, it was our first game out in St. Louis at this AAU thing that we had never been to. And my dad told my mom that he was all prepared to give us, like, you know, a speech or give me a speech because we lost, you know. And then we were fortunate to win, but you know, during that time, our dads got to know each other, and then we got to know each other. And so, yeah, there were probably some stereotypes, and, you know, people just sort of, okay, the dad played professional sports, and the mom's got her own business, and she's doing her thing. And so you'd feel that energy. And, you know, I mean, it also, I think, is indicative of the times. I mean, the 70s and 80s weren't great for Black America.
The keeping it real era. And,
yeah, well, I mean, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and so when it came to basketball, though, for me, I loved the game. I was passionate about it. I couldn't get enough of it, and I wanted to play with and against the best. And so, so you welcomed, you welcomed competition, whether that was going against adults, going against your peers who were the best in the country. And sometimes I think people underestimate it
Yes.
because of those perceptions or stereotypes or whatever. Look, we grew up, upper middle class. You'd been to my parents' house when we were teenagers. I'm not trying to equate myself, to the late Kobe Bryant, but he grew up, upper middle class, grew up sort of an international kid, in Italy, spoke, different languages, had exposure and access to a number of different things, and then came to the States, was in the main line in Philadelphia, a very exclusive neighborhood. But as we watched his career unfold and his legacy and what he accomplished, like no one questioned his hunger, his competitiveness, his drive, all those things. And so I think we've learned that how you grow up has really nothing to do with what's in here. And you have people on both ends of the spectrum who have a drive and have a passion for something, but also who maybe don't, and so it's interesting how that unfolded. But yeah, I think in 85, 86, like those years back in the day, I think people didn't quite know how to take me.
Because
and
I learned
understand
that lesson, Grant, and I think you made a great point because whether it was me going to the high school I went to, now every athlete's son goes there, and so we were in the beginning, and so a funny story of that stereotype is when I went to go stay with you.
Right.
I went to stay with you. Were you in Virginia at that time?
Yeah, we
were in Virginia. I'm 13 years old, and I thought that because of what I thought my family was in Detroit, I thought that there were different standards in households.
Right.
So my stereotype was, okay, Grant has two parents that are really well off, and he doesn't have any rules at home. And I found out a little bit different when your mom got on me when I went to a party with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tell the story.
No,
I'll tell the story.
Well, I'll tell it. Maybe you
Okay,
might have
you
a different
tell.
version, but no, it was so. You came to Virginia. You were with your AAU team, and then you came to the house. Brian Reese, who ended up going to North Carolina, he was from, he was from New York.
He
from
had
the
a
South
fresh
Bronx.
high top.
He had a high top. Big Daddy Kane high top.
Yeah.
So you guys were at the house, and so we go to a little house party in the community, and so we drive. Embarrassingly, I was driving an old Benz. I don't know if you remember that.
It was the year of Do You Want to Ride in My Mercedes, boy? Because I'm in the car like, I'm in the Benz.
But it was the story. It was
an old school.
It was an
like
old school Benz.
Yeah,
It was old. It was my dad bought that car for my mom when she was pregnant with me.
Wow. Okay.
And then when I got 16, I got the car. I didn't even want want a Benz. Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
So we go to the party. It was cool. It's, whatever. It's people there. And then I'm like, Chris, like, we gotta go. I got a curfew. And you're like, oh, I'll get a ride home.
I don't know where I would say I get a ride home. I lost my
because my friends were there. I had friends there. So
okay.
I get in the car. I got Brian with me. I'm like, this ain't gonna be good. And so we get to the house. And so, I hate to use profanity, but we pull up and my mom's at the front door, and she's like, where the fuck is Chris? And I'm like, he's at the party, he's getting a ride home. And she said, if y'all don't have him back in 10 minutes, both y'all in trouble. And I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I got Brian Reese here. And so we go and, I don't know, we grab you, we gotta go. And then unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this, but I think the next morning we're maybe having breakfast or whatever, and my mom said she pulled you to the side and was like, Chris, I respect, whatever, where you're from and your parents and the rules, but when you're in my house, you gotta listen to my rules. And you were like, yes, ma'am, I have an earlier curfew or something. I don't know, something along those lines. And so that's the story.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the real story.
The
only thing you missed is that she called my mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
and
that.
she told my mom.
That sounds about
so
right.
My mom told my dad, he's like, boy, you over there embarrassing us, over there not home at the same time. But
I was mortified. Like I was not, you want to, you got your peers and then, like my mom, and I was just like, oh man. But
I did not know that you had, parents who were disciplinarians.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me feel great. I actually went home and I was like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be because of any misconceptions that I had at the same time. But because your family was a regular family, to me, that spoke so much. And that's why I wanted to know about those stereotypes because, whatever the stereotype was, it wasn't true. Because your mother and your dad was looking at me like, you idiot. Why didn't you just come home with Grant?
He was just like, don't wind her up, please. But no, I mean, it was an interesting time. And, another time, this is all before we were in college and competing against each other. But I think maybe a year before that, we were in Arkansas, Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Yes.
And we were the AAU 15 and under tournament.
Yes.
And when it ended, and I think the Nike camp, which was the big camp in Princeton, all the top players in the country. I think you were a rising sophomore, I was a rising junior. And so the AAU tournament went like 2 or 3 days into the Nike camp. And so then my mom was going to basically chaperone us and fly us to New York, drive us to Princeton and deliver us, I guess, at the camp 2 or 3 days late. And so our team played and then, Hillary, Chelsea, Bill Clinton, Governor Clinton, they were at our game. And then after the game, we all went to Wendy's, and then we went to a water park. And it was like me, you, Randolph Childress was on my team.
Yes.
Chelsea was like a little younger than us. And so we go to the water park, whatever. And then the next day, when we're driving from LaGuardia to Princeton, my mom's like, he's going to be president one day. And I had no idea who he was. I had met him for the first time. I didn't even know that my mom and his wife was school together, roommates and all that. And then lo and behold, like, he was president. And I was like, man, like, I thought, what is she talking about, president? Like, I was 15. I didn't understand it. But anyway, I mean, I think that story, I think it just sort of symbolizes sort of, the relationship and the times that we had together. And that was at a time when, it wasn't social media. It wasn't like guys nowadays are all know each other.
No.
And it was a little different back in the 80s.
We were dreaming. I mean, when I went to your house, I remember the only thing you did have that was dope was a Betamax.
Yeah.
And at the time, you either had VHS, but if you had a Beta, you was the man. And so I remember, and it was so dope because it was good, and the world definitely has kind of shrunk since that time, but we didn't have social media. You didn't know what guys in Virginia was doing. So when you pulled out tapes of Big Monday, and me and you were watching tapes and really like dreaming, I remember dreaming with you like, man, this would be so cool if one day you're going to go here. What school are you going to? Listening to Brian Reese. And it's so funny how things happen full circle. After I called the timeout against North Carolina the year after we played you, it was so many people that encouraged me because I was down, and I get a letter, and it's from President Clinton. And it says, you worked hard, this and that, congratulations. And I remember you from Arkansas.
Wow.
And one thing I know, he's a great politician because he has a great memory. It was crazy. I've seen him a couple times after, and he always mentions, that game in Arkansas and how we played and things like that. So things do come full circle. And, I don't know if you know this, but I've reached out to your mother many times in my NBA career. And it was whether through my aunt or to get advice. And if we can go back to that time, when you think about your mother's career, whether at the Pentagon, when you think about her at college at Wesley, she talked about before going to campus and never dealing with white people before. And she talks about calling home. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, that story is a great story. So my mom grew up in New Orleans, segregated South. She was fair-skinned, and she used to joke that, her and her friends would switch the signs on the water fountain, and just watch white people drink out of the black water fountain, which, was a dangerous thing to do. But I think at that time, but I think it also spoke to sort of her spunk and her spirit, her sense of humor, her fearlessness. And so she got this scholarship to go to Wellesley. And Wellesley was in Boston, Massachusetts. It's this liberal arts school. She wanted to stay in New Orleans and go to Xavier, which was HBCU in town. But my grandmother made her go. She didn't have a decision, right. And she gets there, and right away she feels uncomfortable. She feels like an outcast. She says these young ladies who are refined and at tea, they're like making fun of her accent and the way she, please pass the butter and all. And so she, after a week, she had it made up in her mind that she was going to call home and her father was going to answer the phone. And she acknowledged she was spoiled. She was a BAPS, Black American princess or whatever. Right. And he would bring her back, let her enroll at Xavier, and buy her a new car.
Oh,
so she had it all planned out. Okay. And my grandmother answered the phone, and she emoted to my grandmother about not fitting in and blah, blah, blah. And my grandmother said, look, you are going to extend the benefit of the doubt to these young women. You are not going to cave. You are not going to give in. And of course, she didn't want to hear that, but she talked about afterwards and later on, and as I was growing, like, that was a valuable lesson for her. And so not quitting, staying there, and then through that process, forging some great experiences and some great relationships. And so for someone who had never been around a white person and never had a relationship with someone white, she came out of that with many relationships and many perspectives, learning from, people from different walks of life. And so that spirit and that that really was, I think, part of who she was and part of what she pursued during her career. Hoping to create opportunities for men, women, different colors, whatever. Like, just that was who she was. And I had more people. It's interesting. I had more people who were you talk about you reached out at different times throughout your life and your career. I had classmates of mine, people who, went to Duke with me, maybe a year or two older, a year younger, unbeknownst to me, had relationships with my mom. And she was a mentor, she was a resource. She helped them, she paid for them to apply for the LSAT or go to college and all these, and I'm finding out these things once she passed away. And so she always extended people the benefit of the doubt. And that's an example I've tried to live by, and I'm not quite as good as her is doing, but yeah, so, my grandmother, like if my grandfather had answered, she might not have ever gone to Wellesley, and she might have been in Xavier and probably still living in New Orleans to this day.
Grant, it's so many misconceptions that I love addressing, because really, if it wasn't from her family that told her, wait, this is how we're going to do it, she had an opportunity to be bitter. Right. She had an opportunity to make excuses. And it's funny because I know her as a galvanizer. Right. I know her as like, you're in the room and the United Nations is in there.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
She's for everyone.
Right.
And I know that had to be just awesome. And if you could just speak to, did you get a degree at the dinner table? I have so many friends that talk about, I got my finance degree at the dinner table listening to my parents. I got my strategy for how I'm going to approach. We know that not only did she have consulting companies, but she sat on the board of many organizations. And I know you followed in her footsteps. Is she your corporate strategy? Is her life kind of how you've seen yourself, or you've taken that and kind of gone into business?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, my father, when he retired in the early 80s, he was still working with the Cleveland Browns. So he would commute. He would commute from DC to Cleveland. He'd come home on the weekends. A lot of times he'd stay there on the weekends. And so there was a period of time where, like, she was very hands-on. But because I'm an only child of two only children, like, she shared everything. So, what was going on at work, some of the challenges she might have had.
So coming home, she would express.
And she would dumb it down so I could understand.
Right, but still you were involved.
But yeah, but I think the closeness of the relationship and her willingness to share, and it's a teachable moment. And so all of this, you're processing, you're learning, and it's having an impact on how you think about life, how you approach life, and how you just navigate what comes at you. Because look, it's I don't care how you grow up, I don't care where we made in the NBA, like you deal with stuff just like anyone else.
Right.
And so she was always a friend, a resource, a mentor for me, financially, just how I think about money, how I think about life after basketball. All of that was, I that's one of the things I miss. I miss being able to bounce ideas off of her, strategize, game plan, gossip, whatever. I mean, like all of that. And so, that was unique. My dad, obviously, the athletic genes, and he's
Yeah, I want to
he's
talk
very
about that.
no, he's special, and we have a very unique relationship. But she was a go-getter. And it was funny sometimes. Like, this is really funny. I might have been in Detroit, and let's say something's going on, and I'm emoting to my parents about what's going on in the locker room, and she's the one. Well, you need to do this, and this, and my dad's like, you ain't never been in no locker room, and
She don't care.
She didn't care. That's kind of who she was. But yeah, I mean, I think I've been lucky and fortunate, and I think I was fortunate to be in the Hall of Fame. My dad had a Hall of Fame worthy career in the NFL.
But she's in the Hall of Fame.
But she's a star, and she's in the National Corporate Directors Hall of Fame.
Right, that's right. So
she was on.
family.
She was on the board of Sprint. She was on the board at Wendy's, the board of Carl. Like, she was on a number of boards over her 30-year corporate career.
The Carlisle Group. I was like, in looking back at her, because she was so energetic, tough, kind, but she didn't brag. So you didn't know. Wow, you're doing all these things. And so just to talk to her, and then in conversation, well, will we do this here? I'm like, where? What? And so it does affect your thinking, and I know that you were, to have a resource like that and someone that loves you and breaks it down and just part of that just had to be so special. Yeah.
No, it was. I mean, I think also she was an achiever, and she was a mathematician. She taught math. Teaches you how to problem solve, and so she was always a resource for everyone with their problems. Very logical, but also very smart and
Quick-witted.
And yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we had great parents. We are parents, and just the influence and the role, and it's powerful.
Let's talk about Dad a little bit,
Okay.
because it's awesome that, when I really looked into your father, it's funny. I hate Duke and I hate the Cowboys. So let me get that out there. You played for Duke and your dad played for the Cowboys.
And I'm a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, you're a Cowboys fan.
I've been miserable for 30 years.
Well, I'm a Lions fan. I've been miserable
Yeah.
my whole life. Yeah. But anyway, I've loved your father, though.
Right.
And I love you, but I love your father. And when I just look back into his career,
Right.
it's so many things that paralleled your career.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So, your father drafted 24th, 25th pick in 1969.
Right.
He's rookie of the year.
Yeah.
980-something yards. He plays in the NFL 5 years and is a Pro Bowler 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you understand that, but do you understand? He played in the league 5 years and a Pro Bowler for 4 years, so he was cold.
Yeah. No, he was.
But then injury took
Yeah.
it away.
Similar, very similar.
So talk a little bit about how your father didn't want you to play football, but
Right.
I also can't wait to hear in your worst moments when you were injured,
Right.
y'all's conversation, because I'm sure he could have a conversation with you that he couldn't have with anybody else, just from understanding injury, not even father to son, but
Right.
injured to injured. So talk a little bit about growing up and watching him play football,
Right.
and your love for football and not being able to play.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a very young age, I was always around sports, and just I always felt like I was on the sidelines. Like, I would go to camp or practice, 3-4 years old, and I just remember being around football.
Wow.
And wanting to play football, being around, throw the ball, throw it with my dad, play with my friends, go to games, be in the locker room, all of that. And, I think it was disappointing that he wouldn't let me play football as a kid. He didn't play till he was in high school. His first love was baseball.
Okay.
But I think he felt like he didn't want some little league parent thinking that they were Vince Lombardi. And he also felt like you needed to be developed before you start hitting. So I think he thought when I got to high school, I would play.
Oh, so he thought you were going to
No, no question. There was a moment. It was before 8th grade. So it was before we played each other in St. Louis. We were trying to play tennis at the high school or whatever. We're out there at the tennis and it's like August and maybe even July, and we're looking, and the football teams are over there having their like summer practices. And he's like, "That's going to be you next year," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna be in the gym
right
with his AC."
Right.
And at that point, I had fallen in love with basketball. Like basketball was my sport, and so for my dad, I was just with my dad, and first of all he says hello, and but he was telling me this story. So he when he retired, there was a real sort of cocaine problem in the NFL and with the Browns. And so part of what they had him do was
This is like 70.
this is the early 80s.
Early 80s.
So
okay.
he played in Dallas, went to Hawaii,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
came back, played for the Redskins in the late 70s, and then finished his career with the Browns.
Okay.
And so like retired, I think like 81, 82. And so they had about 15 guys who had like real cocaine addictions and problems. And so he put this thing called the Inner Circle together. And to this day, it was all confidential. He won't share who was in it. There's only one person who's gone public, and that was Charles White, the running back who played at USC, got a Heisman Trophy. He came out public and said he was a part of this. And my dad told me the story that I was up there visiting one weekend, and Charles White said, "Hey, you better go back and spend time with that boy, or he'll end up in the situation we're in." And he said it scared him. And so he then said, "Okay, like we're gonna do 2 trips a year, just father-son trips, just the 2 of us. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want to go to the Final Four." Like, because at that point I had fallen in love with basketball.
DMV, the Final
And so,
Four.
and it just so happened it was on the rise of Georgetown. And so the first game I watched, we did the basement. It used to be a toy room or whatever, and then, I got older and they kind of redid the basement, which we were watching tapes in. So the first thing we taped was the 82 Final Four. And the first thing was Georgetown, North Carolina. And so I fell in love with both teams. And then it just so happened that Michael Jackson, who ended up being the starting point guard on Georgetown.
Michael Jackson had that one pass.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can
so
talk
he went to
about
my
him.
high school. He grew up down the street. And so when he went from South Lakes to Georgetown, we got season tickets. And so we started going. And at the Cap Center. And so in 84, we go to the Final Four. Of all the things that I've been fortunate to be a part of, big games, championships, with a gold medal, whatever it is, I don't think I was ever more excited and more happy and just more thrilled than when Georgetown won in 84. And I was 11 years old. We were in Seattle at the Kingdome. They beat Kentucky, and then they beat Houston with Hakeem Olajuwon. And then the next year we go to Lexington, and I don't know if I've ever been more devastated. And I mean, I've lost games and, lost in the Final Four and all that. I cried in Lexington at Rupp Arena. I've only been to Rupp Arena one time. And I literally cried that whole night when Villanova beat Georgetown. And, but those were, among other things, like those were fun sort of father-son moments. And he said, in those moments, like, I could see you were loving the game. And just like, as a parent, I'd love for him to experience this one day. I'd love for my son. I mean, I get it. If I had a son, and he loved it that much, man, I would want nothing more for them to go through that. And then, then have the opportunity to do it later. Like, he never imagined that. Never in a million years.
Let me ask you this. Are you guys the only rookie of the years, father and son in any sport? I've researched it. I've asked everyone from Claude, ChatGPT, I called in NFL players, but your father was rookie of the year, man. Freaking rookie of the year. And you were rookie of the year. Have y'all ever talked about that?
Nah, we never. I mean, I mean, you know, and that's another thing. Like, so I was young when he was in his great years.
Right.
And so I remember more so when he was older. And so I remember one year, he like in the mid-90s, he had a like highlight tape. This is before YouTube and all that. And like he was scoring, he was all pro, like he was doing all running, you know. And I'm like, man, Dad, you were actually kind of nice.
He was throwing touchdowns. Like I'm watching.
But that's another. He was a quarterback. He was a quarterback in high school, and he went to Yale, and they said they let him be quarterback, and they switched him to running back, and he's still a little salty about that. And I think, you know, because the thought back then was that a black man can't be quarterback,
right?
And so, but Dallas used to have that little option where, and he could throw the ball to Bob Hayes, and so you know, every once in a while he got to be one. But
his long, gangly strides, like, and watching him is so fun. I mean, he's your father, so y'all should look alike.
Right.
But I'm like, damn, Grant stole his whole style. Like you stole your pops like his long stride. He was smooth out there, and he wasn't even that thick. It didn't look like.
Right.
And this is back when you could clothesline and face mask. And
he always says that I only have half his chromosomes. So I'd be a real athlete if I had the other half, you know. Because my mom, like, you know, God bless, you know, her soul, she couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, she's the only person that opted out of physical education and took physics.
yeah, I've never heard of that before.
You know, but no, he was, and he had injuries. Like, you know, back then, I mean, we both have had injuries, and the league, and I think sports in general has evolved, where now it's very much like protecting the player and, you know, and load management and all these things. When we played, they just kind of threw you out there and played. And a crazy story, when he left Dallas to go to the World Football League and play for the Honolulu Hawaiians, first of all, they paid him more money in 1 year than he had made in 6 years in Dallas.
No.
So the money was incredible. But when he showed up, he did a physical. And that's when he found out that he had an ACL tear. He had been playing with an ACL. They were just shooting his knee up, and he was going out there and playing. And so it was barbaric back then in terms of, you know, look, you just go play, and we'll shoot you up. He broke his toe, his sesamoid bone, his big toe 1 year, which I also broke too. I broke that in '93, guarding Rodney Rogers.
Wow.
The same foot. And I always tell Jason Kidd, we lost to Cal. We only lost because my toe was broke.
Right.
But I had to have surgery after that game. But he broke his toe, and they would shoot him up before games. And so he said he'd be on the field playing. He couldn't feel his foot when he planted. And then when the drugs wore off the next day, he'd be in excruciating pain. And then they shot him up so much during the season that he ended up having an infection, and he was in the hospital for 3 weeks after the season. And so, like, that's what they went through back in the day. And so, you know, he had a good 4 or 5 year run where he was on that all-pro level, but then the injuries caught up to him. And, you know, at the end of his career, he was a third down back and kind of a role player. And as you said, it was very similar. Like I was on this trajectory, and then I had, you know, my own setback and my own injuries, but then came back, was a different player, different role, and, you know, but still was fulfilled and enjoyed it. And, you know, but I wasn't the same after that. You know, you go through 4 years, 4 injuries, 4 surgeries, 5 surgeries. When I came back, I was, you know, instead of feeling like I'm the best player on the court, I was just like, man, I'm just happy to be here. Which is a beautiful thing. But I lost that.
You know what?
And I don't know if physically I had it anymore.
See, I want to talk to you about that. I'm going to get there because there's so many great things. And with your father, you know, being that strong man, it lets me understand how your thought process was to make it through injuries and all that. Hey, what's up? I hope you're enjoying this interview with Grant Hill. Again, this time is all about memories, and it's funny, Grant is someone that I dreamed about playing in the league with. Someone that when I look back upon the journey of my life, I can't believe that our paths aligned, and I'm lucky to have a friend that has come this far. You know, if you want more information on stories about Grant Hill, the Fab Five, and others, go to chriswebber.com and get my book, By God's Grace. The reason why I call it By God's Grace is because if you really want to make it in life, you need a lot of people that love you, some discipline, and you need God's grace. That was draft night. I call this chapter The Hug. Jalen right there in the draft. I brought friends to the draft, and that's my father right there who's hugging me, and it was just such a special moment, only because of God's grace. chriswebber.com. Hope you enjoy the rest of the interview.
You went to college. Who were your choices when you were going to go to college?
So I had 5 schools: Duke, Carolina, Georgetown, Virginia, and Michigan.
If you did not go to Duke, where would you have gone? What was your second?
Well,
I know you can't even think of that fathom, but where were you going when? Who was your last two?
I mean, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have played at Michigan because, you know, Fab
Nah,
Five.
get out of here, man.
So I would have been coming off the bench.
Get out of
So
here.
probably Carolina. It was
Okay.
those two. And now, Georgetown, I think for me, I it's really, I mean, it's silly, but, you know, you're 16, 15 years old when you're making these decisions. I had heard about their academic coordinator, Miss Finlon.
Okay.
And I heard she, like, you had to call her every day. Like, she was tough. And to her credit and the credit of the program, all the players graduated. So it worked. But I said, you know what, I already got one overbearing mom. I don't need 2. So that's why I eliminated Georgetown.
So let me tell you a funny story. our AAU coach Harv takes us around, and we go visit all these colleges.
Right.
So I go to Florida A&M, and I did like I did at your house. I was like, y'all come back and get me. I saw all these girls. I'm like, I'm not leaving. Florida A&M is where I'm going. The gym is terrible, but I'm staying here.
Right.
But I went to Georgetown, and Coach Thompson was so cool.
Yeah.
But I went in his office, and he gave us a speech. I said, oh, no, I'm not coming here. Yeah. They fouling, all the Zoe and them were doing were fouling and pickup, and nobody called fouls. And then I was like, I already got a dad. I can't have you up here and you calling my dad. I'm going to be, so it's funny, just how you didn't want another mother up there. I was like, I can't come. I love you, Coach, but 2 dads is not, I'm not feeling that right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't know that, but that's, I mean, it's very similar, very similar. And then people don't know Michigan, so when they won in '89, my mom took me up there for an unofficial visit the next weekend.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, because my favorite player, one of my favorite players was Sean Higgins.
Same.
He was
Behind
6'8",
the back.
He was tall, could handle, play on the perimeter.
Yes.
He was a better shooter than I was. But anybody that was tall that played on the perimeter.
Yeah.
So I didn't meet Sean, but I met Ramil, I met Lloyd Vaught, and then Demetrius Caleb took me out.
Yeah.
And so, but that was the weekend after they beat Seton Hall in the finals, and then for me though, funny story. So the first visit was to Duke, and I don't know if I was leaning that way, but I had a great visit, and I came back, and it just felt right. Like I was like, this is where I want to be, and my dad was like upset. Like, cause he was enjoying the recruiting process.
Oh yeah, he's like, don't stop.
And he was like, oh, I got Dean Smith coming in the house Wednesday. I'm going to Michigan the next week. We got Michigan versus Notre Dame. I'm gonna be on the sidelines with Bo. Like he was like, can you wait another week? And here I am, you know, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. I'm like, well, that would be disingenuous, Dad. Like, you know, I'm the responsible one here.
Exactly.
And so he said, all right, Dean Smith is coming to my house. Like, this is a dream come true. He was a diehard Carolina fan. If he comes in and you still want to go to Duke, you know, then I'll let you. I was like, all right.
He wanted the peer pressure. He with Coach.
Yeah, he was like,
get him, Coach.
He thought maybe I was just, 2-3 days at Duke, maybe, because he knew I was a Carolina fan. And then Coach Smith came in. It was a great visit. Phil Ford was with him. You know, my dad and him. He was dynamic. He helped integrate the ACC. He talked politics. Like he just, had a lot of depth to him. But the next day I was like, all right, can I call Coach K and tell him I'm coming?
Right,
And
right.
and then that was the Michigan game was when Notre Dame played at Michigan and Rocket Ismail. It was his coming out party.
Yeah.
He might have had 2 or 3 touchdowns. He ended up being on the cover of Sports
You
Illustrated.
know what, Grant? I think I was at that game.
You might have been at that game, yeah. And
Yeah,
so my
yeah.
dad was like,
He ran it back.
he ran it back.
Yeah, I was at the game.
And so
yeah.
I was supposed to be on the visit that weekend.
Oh, wow.
And so he was like, I missed this game. I could have been chilling with Bo. And you, like, he's still mad about
Wow,
that. He
that's
couldn't
just-
wait one more week.
I can't wait to talk to him. I'm gonna bring that up. And
But no, I mean, it was Coach K, man. Like he, and I think on the visit, this was apparent, and it played out in terms of when I played for him. His brilliance, in my opinion, is like his ability to make you believe and like talk to you and just, it wasn't so much
more than X and O's.
Yeah, it wasn't the X's and O's necessarily. It was just getting everybody on the same, like getting everybody to believe in a common goal or a common theme or a common way to get it done. Like that, and I can't even put it in the
Was
words.
it one-on-one, like speaking to you? Was it bringing the group in, holding them accountable? Like what was that secret sauce?
He's a relationship coach.
Okay.
So he might have dealt with me differently than how he dealt with my teammates.
But that's your brotherhood.
But it's almost like having kids. Like each kid is different.
Yeah.
Each kid has their own personality, so maybe you got to approach them differently.
Yeah.
But he took the time to understand you and kind of know what your pressure points are and know kind of like just getting you to buy in. And it was fun. There was this thing that he used to do, and I used to roll my eyes when he would do it. But he would say that, a hand is like a basketball team. You got 5 fingers. You got 5 players. And when those fingers are apart and you try to hit something, you don't have impact. You can also, if you hit too hard, you can hurt your fingers, as evident by,
Yeah, I saw your finger.
my pinkies and all that.
Yeah.
But when you bring those fingers together, you got a fist. Like now you got force.
Right.
And so, me and Tony Lang, we be like, here you go with the fist again. Like, we're like rolling our eyes. But then like in the game, when it's like close at the end, he would remind us of like who we are. And like this little psychology, like stuff like that, like that was what made him great, in my opinion, among other things.
But you need that focus, because I played for so many coaches that were X's and O's, but the nuance they missed, and like we're all individual with great plays, but
Right.
So
let me tell you a funny story. Okay, let me tell you this funny story. So we're playing in '92, second round, Greensboro against Iowa. And we, this is a crazy sequence. So we're up, and we start the second half, we might be up 18, and then midway through the second, they get it to like 9. And so we're on the fast break, so 3-on-1. I'm on the right side, Thomas is on the other side. Bobby throws it to Thomas a little bit late. Thomas gathers, goes up, gets hit, but misses. So we meet at the free throw line, and the basket we're at is right in front of our bench.
Okay.
So Thomas is yelling at Bobby, throw the ball earlier. And Bobby's like, make the damn shot. And then Christian comes in, no, throw, like we're arguing. Mm-hmm. So Coach K calls a timeout. We all go to the bench. And Coach K's like, you guys are a bunch of prima donnas. We got a chance to do something special. And he just leaves the bench. He starts walking to the locker room. And so I'm like, what is going on here? And so he's leaving, and so we're just sitting there, and then he comes back, and he's like, we're gonna lose if you guys don't straighten up. Christian says, we're not losing. Gets up out the huddle, goes to the scorer's table, and leans against the scorer's table until the timeout ends. Now, all right.
I love it. I'm already there. Okay, I'm
So
with you.
most coaches would be like irate that your player.
Yeah.
I think like Coach K loved it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he loved
Yeah.
the fact
Yeah.
that Christian said,
Yeah.
we're not losing.
Yeah, my guys are still,
And so it was chaotic. And then we went out and took care of business and won the game. But like, just like understanding Christian, like
letting him be him.
Christian was, and Christian was a ball of fire. But you can use fire to heat a building, or you can use it to burn it down, but you got to know how to use it.
That's right.
And he understood how to use him in that situation, or use him when we played together. So like I said, we didn't wow you with X's and O's and whatever. I mean, a lot of it we just played off of Bobby's instincts. But that sort of just buy-in, the psychology, like that's what made him great. And that I think was what, I'm surprised at that age I recognized, like I wanted to be there and wanted to play for him. But that's essentially, I know I'm all over the place,
No.
but that was, I chose Duke because of him.
And your freshman year, I'm watching you, and we had a relationship before, but you're the only guy I know in college.
Right.
And so, how did he galvanize you guys against my favorite team? I don't think people, and I know you won't admit this, but you were the key coming in to beating UNLV.
Right.
The year before UNLV beat y'all down.
Right,
I think
right.
they signed the basketball, brought it in the locker room. Is that true?
Oh,
I heard that
they
they
may
signed
have,
the ball like before the game, brought it in the locker room. Because, we're like, Larry Johnson, I got
Right.
the part in the middle I'm watching. And when you guys beat UNLV, just tell me a little bit about, because it wasn't the X-Notes, because you guys shouldn't have won. I mean, maybe you should have, but that was my favorite team. And when you talk about Coach K being the galvanizer, how did he make you believe that you could beat the team that won last year and that won by 30 points and that has a bunch of pro guys on it?
So I remember I was at my high school teammate's house watching that championship game, and I'm thinking, like, did I pick the right school? Like it was embarrassing. And so the first day, my freshman year, we had first day of school. We gone through freshman orientation, the upperclassmen show up, we have a meeting in the locker room, and Coach K puts on the board 1991 national champs.
Wow.
And like circles it. And he's like, that's what, and I'm thinking, does he not know that Vegas has everybody back? Like I'm sitting there thinking,
hell of a way to start the year.
I didn't see it, I didn't believe it. But, from a leadership standpoint, it's establishing the vision. And then everything that he did that year was geared to that. So even when he scheduled a couple times, like we might have, 2 games in 3 days.
Right.
This is what we're going to see in the tournament. This is what we're going to see. We're going to have a game, and how do we come down from the high of winning and then ramp back up, in 48 hours. And so all of it, the psychology. And then when we got to that moment, like, okay, we're getting ready to play Vegas. First thing we did, after we won the regional final, we played in Detroit, we beat St. John's. We come back, first practice, we watched the game. Like we're gonna face it. We're
not running from it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna face it. So we watched the game, and then he kind of just, I think, mentally and emotionally built us up. We practiced 5 against 7. So when we were going again, because they had length and speed and that, and they played the amoeba zone, but like literally we're in practice going 5 against 7. And so just to get used to their pressure and their speed and all of that. And then our thing was, they've never been in a close game. Like we've been in close games all season. We've won some, we've lost some, but like we have that muscle. And so he had us believing. Like it might have been crazy, but we believed that we're gonna beat him. Like we got him. And so it was important, I think, for us to get off to a good start. Look, if it was a 7-game series, I mean, they probably would have won. I'm not. But so one other thing happened. So, you've been in these tournament games. The first game happens. It was Carolina, Kansas, and we're in the tunnel waiting to come out because you get like 30 minutes or whatever before the next game. So we're in the tunnel. Kansas beats North Carolina. He brings us back in. And he basically was like, don't rationalize losing. Your neighbors, your rivals right down the street, they've lost. You can easily say, well, if we lose, Carolina didn't get further than us. And that's a whole nother, that whole rivalry, Duke, Carolina, like it's heavy.
But to address that right away is great. Yeah.
It's like we're not rational, no excuses. Because you can easily say, well, you know what, Carolina didn't make it, we didn't make it, we both are good, and so, yeah, we came out, and I do think, Tony Lang and I used to say, hey, they didn't win until we got here. Like we used to say that, part just to pump each other up, but I think one of the things that maybe threw them off a little bit. If you go and watch that game early on, me with the bad haircut.
I'm so mad at you said it. I was going to be like, who cut your hair that
No,
game?
there's a story there. But like, I'm bringing the ball up. And so I was a point guard.
Yeah.
And so that team in Denver in 90, Bobby was a freshman, but Phil Henderson, he wasn't really a ball handler. Robert Brickey wasn't a ball handler. And so now you got another point guard out there, and Larry Johnson's guarding me, and so I can bring it up against him. And so that was almost like a pressure release right there. And so I think it was important to get off a good start. And once we did, it gave us more confidence. But Coach K had us more than anything, just mentally and emotionally ready for the moment.
So, G, me and you grew up in the same era. I mean, hip hop, music and living color, everything around that time, haircuts. Who cut your hair in the final game, man? Jawan used to cut our hair, yeah. So sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. He tried to put the part to Larry Johnson, and that's why, we went bald. Like, who cut? Did you have the 3 times dope or the Gumby? What?
So I'm glad I can address this publicly.
Yeah, please let me know, man.
So
yeah, the part.
We didn't have the good fortune of having a teammate that could cut hair.
Okay.
And so I don't want to oust the barber, but the guy I used, I had a flat top, high and tight, whatever.
Yeah, it used to be dope.
And so, so we win in the regionals against St. John's. And
where was that?
It was in Detroit,
okay.
Silverdome.
Okay.
Silverdome. And so when we get back, and literally I remember like we're on the bus and we're getting ready to get off the bus when we get back, and Coach says, we got Vegas coming up. He said, I don't want y'all doing anything different. Nobody go shave your head or anything, because I won't play you. So I just tell that part. Right. So then the night before we're getting ready to leave, I don't know if we left like Thursday morning going into Final Four weekend, Tony and I go to the same barber we always go to. And, from time to time he would drink while he's cutting. Or sometimes he was, but like.
The story's getting good already, okay.
So the mistake I made, well, first of all, there's a lot of mistakes. But the first mistake was letting Tony go first.
Right.
So Tony didn't have a flat top. He just had like a fade. So he cuts Tony's hair.
And he's sober.
And then, but he's drinking, he's smoking cigarette, like he blows smoking, like he was, whatever. So then I'm in the chair. And so I'm in the chair and the mirror is behind. There's no mirror in front, but I'm facing Tony in the seats. And it's at night, like we're in the barbershop at night. And so like he's cutting and we're talking or whatever. And Tony's like giving me some eye contact. I don't know what Tony's talking about. Like I'm not catching on. And he's like looking at me, and so when it's done, like it was a bowl cut, but it wasn't even an even bowl. Like it was just.
He faded.
And so I don't know what the brown liquor kicked. I don't know what happened, but like I didn't want to pay for it. I was ready to fight him, like literally. And so then I thought, I was like, well, maybe I'll just like shave it off. But then I'm thinking, well, I won't play. Now, Coach would have played.
But still, at that time though, yeah.
You're a freshman. You're a freshman. Like,
you don't even test it.
Now, and so I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go like whatever. I'm going to go hard. They're going to think I'm crazy when I get out there. And so when I watch any of those clips, I can't watch them because all I think about is the haircut. And I'm still mad that I actually paid for that.
Yeah,
like that's what pissed me off.
And one of your most iconic pictures, I think, the alley-oop. Do you have that haircut on the alley-oop?
I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Like with
in the day of Big Daddy Kane, you
haircut.
had to be fried.
Yeah, so you know what? I mean, I had to eat that, man.
Yeah.
But that was, I should have gone to a different barber, or I should have gone first.
Right, exactly. That's what you should have
done.
done.
That's what happened.
Man, that's so funny, man. And we all know that y'all won the championship, and I was so happy when you won it. I was literally sad for UNLV because I loved them and was happy that you won it. And then a year later, I'm a senior in high school. Right. And so...
no, you were a senior that year.
No, I'm sorry. I was a senior that year.
Yeah.
And so that year, I took my visit to you guys earlier.
Man.
So... let me set the stage a couple ways. The reason why I wanted to go to Duke, and because it was between Duke, Michigan, and Michigan State.
Right.
And then Michigan State was out of it. and it was between Michigan and Duke. And a couple reasons why I wanted to go to Duke. One was because of you. Right. I knew that we played together at AAU. Right. I knew we had fun. I knew you weren't selfish. Right. Number two, you told me, you said, hey man, you need to come here. We don't do conditioning. When you said that, I was like, I'm going to Duke, because everybody else want to brag about how many suicides. You was like, man, I said, how do y'all get in shape? You said, man, we play to get in shape. I said, Grant, y'all don't do any running. You said, well, we don't hit the track, we don't run, we play ball. Do you remember?
That's it, that's true. We don't even get on the line, do suicides. His big thing is we'll get in shape by doing basketball, and that's what we did.
And so I wanted to go there for that. And then I heard someone say, Coach K never came to the hood in Detroit. Right. That's not true. No. Coach K came to the hood. Yeah. He came my junior year and senior year.
Right.
So my junior year, the next year after my junior year, he comes to the hood, he gets out the car. You know, I told everybody Coach K coming.
Right.
And my friends are across the street yelling, 103-73. 103-73.
The
game before.
Against UNLV.
You know, and I remember watching him walk in our house, and because I used to watch coaches, you know what I mean? Right. And he was like, and he kind of did something with a ring or something like that and walked in, and I remember him coming out signing autographs, but that visit was so unique because he's the first person I ever saw with the portable video recorder. Mm-hmm. He took me back. I flew back to North Carolina with him for my official visit. Mm-hmm. And in there, all we're talking is basketball. Yeah. And he's like, I see you and Leitner right here, and this and that, and we're gonna take pressure off of you right here, and you and Grant could do the pick and roll, and I think you need to have the ball in your hand. And he's talking to me like I've never been spoken to by any coach. Other coaches came and they placated to my parents. Right. We're gonna get education. They knew they were disciplinarians. Right. We're gonna call you dad if you ever get in trouble, you know, but it wasn't that. And I remember thinking like, this basketball is a little bit different, the way you holistically think of it, as opposed to we got this guy that's going to beat you, we got this guy that's going to beat you. And so I really was so impressed by that. But thirdly, what almost sealed the deal was my visit.
Oh, no, you had the best visit.
Oh, I had the best visit. So you guys, and I want the world to know this, because you guys took me out, and first of all, Christian Laettner, in my opinion, probably besides Kareem or someone I didn't watch, is the best college player of all time.
No question. No question.
You know, no question about that. But within that, I didn't know his personality. I always thought he was like a jerk or something.
Right.
But he was the best host. I mean, he's jerky. He's jerky. No. But he was really cool. So I go to class with y'all.
Right.
I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday. It was during the week. Right. Because I was like, y'all took me to a party. I'm like, they got parties like this in the middle of the week? This is at Duke, and I'm thinking all these nerds are smart. Like, nah, they're having a good time. But then y'all take me to North Carolina. Is it A&T?
No, North Carolina Central.
North Carolina Central.
Right.
Whew, that was like going to Hillman's class, a different world. I swear I saw Whitley, I saw all of them there. And I'm like, this is not what I heard about Duke. And so it was one of the best visits, but did y'all go to was that a fake visit for me? Did y'all really interact with North Carolina Central like that? Yeah. It was,
so yeah, I mean, first of all, I didn't know the full, like the recruiting and coach coming to, see you and then bringing you there. And it was during the season. I remember that. Matter of fact, did we play LSU?
Y'all played Shaq?
We played Shaq.
I walked on the court and I was like, because during the visit, I'm like, I can make the team. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready for college. Then I saw Shaq, I'm like, oh no, this is something different. Yeah. This is something different.
And to continue with your point, Christian kind of gave him the business that game.
Y'all won by 20-something.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was, man, look, we hadn't won at that point. And it was like, man, if we get Chris Webber, we ain't never losing a game. Like, that's what we were thinking. And it was funny because your reputation preceded you in a time where you didn't have social media, you didn't have technology, but like, it was a big thing that Chris Webber was visiting Duke. And it may have been like the biggest recruit, high school guy coming in. And so everybody knew. Everybody, like Central, A&T, which was in Greensboro, North Carolina, like all these schools are, kind of in close proximity. And it was just like, man, everybody like came. I remember like we were I remember we were at, first of all, I remember I think we were at Christian's house, and we were watching it. I don't know if we were watching the slam dunk contest, but Sean Kemp did a dunk.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was on tape
wow,
or was,
yeah.
And then you were like, oh, I can do that. And we were all like, yeah, he probably can do it.
You're probably lying.
And so, but I remember that, and it just like the buzz that Chris Webber was coming to visit Duke, like it was just, look, the years I was there, you know, I hosted recruits. I was there when recruits came. There was nobody bigger that came on campus than you, and it was like it was incredible, and it was a good visit, and it was indicative of like what we did. I mean, you know, you had Duke, which was a PWI, and maybe some of those perceptions that people had, maybe some that you had, are real. But then there's also, it's not all that,
Never,
and then the fact that UNC Central, the HBCU, is right down the road. I took classes at Central. I used to go to cafeteria, fish fry Fridays and fried chicken Wednesdays. Like, and the thing about Central was that there was like an 18-to-1.
Yes, ratio
Ratio there.
I remember you guys telling me that.
Yeah,
like 20-to-1.
So yeah, I mean, but then we would also go to Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
We'd go over to Chapel Hill, 6 miles down the road. And, but yeah, man, when you came and the thought of, or the possibility of like you coming and playing for us, it was like, man.
That culture.
And Coach wanted you back. Like Coach, so first of all, to your point, like Coach, there were two guys that he wanted that, and wanted more than anyone, at least in terms of how he expressed it to us. It was you and it was Big Dog. And like, and Big Dog didn't make a visit, but I remember just hearing, and obviously I was close in age, and the good thing was that they would talk to us about guys, and so made you feel like you were vested in the whole recruiting thing. But yeah, I mean, like those were two guys that he wanted hard and he didn't get, and so then we got to play you.
Yeah, but see, that's where this comes in. Like, so we're about to play you guys at the University of Michigan.
Oh man,
it's the biggest thing on campus. It's a Saturday. It's a TV game, and the familiarity I had with you allowed me to love you and you be my boy and still hate the team that we're playing against.
Right.
But at the same time, I knew you guys, so it wasn't like this distant hate, like, oh, I just hate them for any stereotype. It was like, man, no, they cool, man. Trust me, you go to blah, 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 but we're gonna beat them today.
Right.
And I remember just that feeling with the Fab Five of, I really feel the whole narrative of Fab Five, not just freshmen being recruited, but can these freshmen do it, came because we played you guys. I remember in watching the tape and hearing Jim Nance say, Michigan will be right back against America's team. And things like that made me, get pumped up for the game. But that game with you guys was definitely, that was our coming out party.
Oh, 100%.
And
you guys should have won that game. Or you could have very easily won.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great game. And hopefully it gave you guys confidence that like, okay, like we can, what I'm saying? Because you guys, went to overtime. First of all, you didn't play like you had love, because you were kicking my.
Yeah.
I had to guard you. I'm like, hold on, I got to guard him.
They just had you guarding everybody. Yeah, you were guarding everybody.
But it was. So let me just. I know I don't want to make sure you ask the question, but
No, go ahead.
Let me just. So we had just come off maybe our best performance. We played at St. John's, Big East ACC Challenge. And all Coach K did was dangle St. John's in front of us. Like, y'all think y'all are good, they're gonna kick y'all butt and blah, blah, blah. So we went out there and so like we're on this high. And then we come in and it's like, oh, these some freshmen, like, we beat Michigan last year. And not saying that we overlooked or anything, but like y'all came out and y'all were coming at us. And like we very easily could have lost that game. And maybe you could say should have lost, And And so that was for us, like that was just like, hey, like we can't, like it made us, I think it made us realize the difference between being the hunter and the hunted.
Yeah.
And like now you're getting everybody's coming at you.
Yeah.
But there was look, there was more, and even the stuff you touched on about, you know, some of the way things were framed in the media. And I think for us, as the perception of Duke and what that is and what it stood for, it maybe had different meanings to different people. And then, you know, you have, you know, UNLV and like, you know, good versus bad. And then, you know, Fab Five versus, you know, and honestly, like it's crazy to me. Like, and I mean, and I get it now and I see it, but like at the moment, I was oblivious to all of that.
Yeah.
I had no, and maybe I was too aloof or whatever, but like I was unaware. I gravitated to Georgetown. I hated St. John's, you know, because of Chris Mullin. So then, but now I'm in it, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not even, I know you, I know some of your teammates, maybe not as well. You know, I know, I'm close with Rodney Rogers, Randolph Childress. I know James Forrest and T. Best, like you know, Coy Alexander, like we're all at PWIs, but I just didn't understand. Like I didn't read the paper. I you know, I'm not paying for the USA Today. You know, I just was unaware, and like I almost feel, I almost like, was I naive? Was I foolish? No, I think we were just in the moment.
And y'all beat UNLV, and I think that really made y'all the bad guys as well, because
we beat
you beat the hood's favorite team.
Right. No question.
You know what I mean?
No
And
question.
so with that, and you're right, because at the time it really, I felt this hatred for Duke because I felt they kept saying Duke is better than Michigan.
Right.
Everything else was like, every school was like that. You can look at USC, I mean UCLA or any of those schools, and for you to be part of that, it felt really great to have that rivalry from the beginning. We had confidence from the beginning saying, oh, wait a minute, we only lost to them by that. We can do something. That was the first game we wore our famous gold uniforms, and the first time we did all of those things. And so we definitely had that hatred, but it was more of a hatred of respect. Like it's our turn. And
but see, understand something too. I thought that was just like when we went to Wake Forest, we went to State, we went to Florida, like they just booed us.
Yeah.
And when they came to us, we booed them. Like I thought that was just like, that's what college basketball was.
That's what,
And I didn't realize that maybe there was a little extra boo for us.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, it was always funny too. Like I mean, and not to you know, I mean this. If you were to name all time the top hated Duke ball players, you know, top 5, they might all be white.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I played with 2 of them.
Yeah.
And you know, you got Wojciechowski, JJ, like they endured more than it. We all got it.
But they like, got the vestiges of y'all, right.
And then I used to look around in the crowd and I'm like, most of the students here are white. And so I always thought that was, I don't even know how to unpack that, but anyway.
But see, going to Michigan though, like a lot of that to me was like false equivalence because the same percentage is at Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like I look in the stands,
that's what I'm saying.
Because Michigan did not want the Fab Five. Like we should have gone to Michigan State. Like we weren't accepted. We're getting death threats from the fans because we're not Duke.
And I didn't know you guys were enduring all that. Like I had no.
Yeah, so it was like a false.
But no, and that's what I'm saying. Like okay, like Rodney Rogers was my roommate at the McDonald's All-American game. Rodney's from Durham.
All right.
So Rodney was in our dorm all the time.
Yeah.
We'd come home, but Wake Forest is exactly what Duke is.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same. It's a small liberal arts school in North Carolina, and I mean it's scary in terms of how similar the 2 schools were and are. But I think because we had some really good white players, and you had Danny Ferry, who was National Player of the Year, and then that became Christian and Bobby. I don't know, like maybe it's more than that, I don't know, but I mean, and I know there's been documentaries and try to debunk the myths and all of that, but like Christian was at the time the blackest white guy I'd ever been around.
He took me to HBCU for my visit, man.
People,
and the girls, I was like, girls like, Chris, what the?
Christian, so we had like the black bench at Duke, and in between classes for 20 minutes, a lot of the black students would congregate. It was under a big tree, so there was shade.
Okay.
But like he'd be the only white person there, and then we'd go over to Central, and he was. I remember I came on my visit, and I stayed with Brian and Christian, and Christian's playing the Jungle Brothers, and and so to me it didn't. But then how he was portrayed as this goody two shoes kid, like I was like, no, this is not him at all. And then Bobby was, Jersey City, like what I'm saying, like Bobby grew up in a tough environment, like, and the interesting thing, like I'm the one that maybe kind of grew up privileged, in a way. But nobody else on the team grew up that way. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so to paint that, it was whatever. But I was oblivious because when I went places in Durham, when I went home to DC, like people showed love. They might say, I hate Duke, but I rock with you.
When Pac wore the Duke jacket, I was like, all right, y'all getting love when I was little. I was like, come on, Pac, wear that Michigan jacket.
But I didn't know. Like, I didn't know, man. And like, I didn't realize it, but I should have. Like, I mean, I just, like I said, I was in the moment.
But in the process, and if we continue with that, so you guys beat us in the finals.
Right.
And that was tough. I mean, I think Juwan played the best defensive Leitner ever. First half, Leitner didn't score.
He had his worst half of basketball in that first half.
And that was Juwan's focus. And then the second half, y'all just came out and just
Bobby lit into Christian at halftime.
Really?
Christian was always on Bobby, on all of us, like Christian. But then at halftime, Bobby chewed him out. And Christian, to his credit, he took it and then came out and responded and played better. But that was the one time Bobby got on Christian.
That's when I realized how good Bobby was, because he could get anywhere he wanted to. And I remember that day because I'm sitting in the back, I'm crying after we lose. I had won 3 state championships in high school. You think you're gonna win another, you think you're gonna win, and you guys beat us. And going back to your mom, I remember, and my mom had to remind me of this, you and I were the MVPs of that game. They gave the loser MVP too.
Oh yeah, the Chevrolet player.
And my mom's like, I know it's a picture somewhere with his parents, you, and my parents all sitting together.
Wow.
And I remember standing up after the game, getting our trophy. And I remember how much it hurt, how pissed I was, but being in the process, I get a call and says, hey, this year the Olympic team is not going to be you guys. Because it was going to be me. It was going to be me, you, Mashburn. We were on the Olympic team.
Right.
And they call and they say, you're not going to do it. And I remember being like, oh man, this is the word there. But do you guys want to come and practice?
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited about my new book. It's taken a long time to write it. I wrote it because I'm grateful and I'm thankful. I want to celebrate a successful journey. I want to honor my parents and the village that raised me.
We call the timeout. Michigan doesn't have any.
I want to acknowledge the obstacles that I had to overcome. It damn sure wasn't easy. And I want to share how I got over it.
I remember some of the best memories I had was, even though we had just been competitors, we had turned right back into fans, because it was no guarantee you were going to the league then, if you didn't have that perspective. And I remember being in La Jolla, one of the nicest golf courses in the world, waiting till it's night, tearing up the grass with you and Bobby Hurley. I remember, running through.
Torrey Pines. We're at Torrey Pines.
That was Torrey Pines?
Driving on the greens.
That was Torrey Pines? See, now I would give my right arm to play there.
That was the first time I've been on a golf course.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah. And I remember, I want to see if you remember this. I remember Jordan and Magic playing Tonk.
Dude.
All my real friends, they're like, tell us. I'm like, this is not going to seem that special, but it's so special to me. And I remember dreaming. I remember, first of all, we walked in the room and Jordan is playing Jodeci. And I remember looking at you like, How he know about Jodeci? You know what I'm saying? Because it was no social media.
Was Alan in the room with us?
Alan?
Me, you, and Alan?
Yeah. And Jordan had his shirt off. I'm like, he got a brand?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at his earring, like, is that real? And then I remember them playing Tunk.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember?
I remember.
And them playing Tunk Out double?
Yeah.
Do you?
I remember they were gambling. We were in the room, and it was Jordan,
Magic.
Was Clyde there? No, was Scotty or Clyde?
I want to say both, I think.
Both
at
one, yeah. So we're in there, and I just remember at the end of the night, it was Magic's suite, and
The phone
he had
call?
all this money on the
Yes.
floor, and we were like, man, you think he's gonna give us something?
Yeah.
And we were trying to, and he was like, nope.
Yeah, I was hoping, and I remember this.
Oh,
I
I mean,
remember-
it was the most amount of cash.
But I remember him calling his wife, I believe, Cookie, and going, hey, thank Mike for this new Corvette he bought you. Or something to that. And maybe I'm putting something on it, but I'm glad that you said the biggest pile of cash, because I remember thinking, and I remember Scottie Pippen being so cool taking us to dinner.
Yeah.
And so I remember just the fraternity of basketball. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they were like, man, good game. Oh, you shouldn't have let Duke beat. It was like fun.
They embraced us.
They embraced us.
They
man.
embraced us. I mean, even we beat them and they came back and beat us, but like they took us under their wing. They let us. It was just a great shared experience. It was great for us
Yes.
as we were all competitors, and now we're on the same team and we're having fun and we're getting to know each other and hanging out or whatever. But then the fact that they knew who we were.
Come on, man.
And they were letting us in and taking us to dinner and letting us do this and that. Like that to me, I've done, and sometimes it's hard because the world, and we did the documentary recently, but man, of all the things I've done, like all the things I've been a part of, like that's up there at the top in terms of just the most amazing, dynamic, thrilling, exciting, like that was, I could have died and gone to heaven.
That was one of the purest moments for me, because I remember walking up top and us looking over and being like, oh shit, it's real. It's real. And being like, Grant, you got him back. And I remember, because these are my favorite players. I'm like, am I going to check Barkley? Am I going to check Ewan? And I remember that huddle. Like, I remember the huddle before we came out. I promise you, like it was yesterday, because in my mind, I was like, this is it. Because you never got to prove yourself against your best players. And so seeing that you and Jordan were the same size, or what Bobby Hurley did with his quickness, it was just, it's definitely up there as one of my top moments.
Well, first of all, like, you want to go against the best.
Yeah.
And there's no greater measuring stick than going against the dream team. And so, and then, like we went out there and that, like, we were hooping. And the thing I remember Bobby was able to like get by people. And you talk about like, it wasn't a screen and roll. Like
No.
He could break you down off the bounce.
Yeah.
And he was doing it there. I remember Allen couldn't miss from three.
Yeah.
And then it was like, man, Webb is in here, like inside, just killing these
I
guys.
was
Like, and then we all, chipped in and did our thing. But it was just like, man, it was fun, and we were going at them. And okay, they got us the next day or so, but I came out of that not only just like excited that I was with all these people, but like I kind of felt like I can not only play in the league, like I can maybe like play at a high level in the league. Like and I know, you had a year before you got that experience. I had 2 more years, but it was just like the ultimate confidence booster.
The way they respected the process so much, like they weren't entitled. They were like, you're supposed to give us your best. We appreciate that. Keep dreaming, young fellas.
Right.
And today, y'all not gonna score. Get the hell out of here.
I think one day we couldn't get it over half court.
No, I remember the drill where you deny from free throw line to baseline, and you just practice. I remember Jordan doing that to you, denying, and I'm like, oh, this ain't a drill. This is real. And so those moments, man, and like you said, your book game and autobiography, in reading it and going over it, it was a freedom that I saw, or that I felt from you reliving and telling, your stories. And be quick now, we'll get to get you up out of here, but your sophomore year, you used to wear a North Carolina hat on campus?
No, junior year.
Junior year.
Yeah,
Your junior year, you used to
junior
wear
year.
a North Carolina hat on campus. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, it's long and complicated. So, we had a lot of success. Like my first 2 years, we won championships, and then there's an expectation now. And then my third year, I broke my toe, and I was probably upset with how I thought it was handled. And I remember after the California game, I came back and you get physicals, and they took a look or whatever, and they're like, yeah, you need to have surgery on your toe. And I'm like, surgery? And so, you're dealing with this injury for 2 months, and you feel like you're letting your team down. And, you're told you have turf toe, and you think, you don't understand what that is, but you're like, man, like I should be out here, I should be playing. And so you're hard on yourself. And then all of a sudden the idea of having surgery, and it was like, oh man, I'm not having them do it. I'm gonna go someplace
Right,
else.
since y'all didn't tell me.
So then I went to like 3 different doctors, and 2 of them were trained by the doctor to do it. Like it was,
He
so I
couldn't
ended
get
up
away.
coming back, and I think for me it was just, I was young, I was immature, I was processing the disappointment of not being able to win, not being able to be out there at full strength. I was frustrated at the injury and whatever, and I directed all that at Coach K.
He can handle it, but that's funny that
no,
you
but
say
I did.
that.
And like, it
That's
was
funny.
like everything, and so in my way of protesting, like it was like, all right, I'm gonna wear a Carolina hat.
That's crazy.
And I did that for like maybe a couple weeks. And
Anybody say anything to you, or you wanted them to say something, or they just wouldn't?
so I was like the, I don't know, chair or whatever, marshal of the all-night graduation party in Durham County.
And you did not do it.
And I
there.
wore it there.
No.
And then I got up on stage, and I'm in a boot, like I had surgery. Like, I'm in the boot, and I get up there, and Carolina had just won. I'm like, it was the heels of the Rodney King stuff and all that. And I was like, can we all just get along? And I threw the hat in the crowd.
Nice.
And
Way to switch it around.
And so,
yeah.
like, that was
that's a smart
that was
move.
like me getting over. But
Yeah.
that was just, look, man, the beauty of that was we weren't in the social media era. Like, if that happened now, it would be, you couldn't do that. But we could be young, and we could make mistakes, and we could, protest or whatever in the way we wanted to. And that was my form. And I'm like, I got to a point, like, what am I doing? Like, it's not Coach's not a doctor, but that was my way of processing it all. And anyway.
But that's like Coach letting guys, you talked about Christian or letting you be you. I think, they knew what was going on, and kind of letting you vent in your own way seems to be, it worked.
I don't even know if Coach knows.
Oh, well, he knows.
I don't know if he read my book or not.
He knows now.
But no, I mean, that was, but yeah, I mean, look, we're human, and, I mean, we go through stuff and we make mistakes, and I acknowledge it now. It was silly. But yeah, like that was my way of venting, I guess. And so, yeah, and then I never would have gone to Carol. I mean, like, that was, you had to sit out the rivalry.
But you just let them know.
No, I will say this, though.
What?
Tony Lang and I, after we played you guys in the finals, the next weekend we went to Atlanta. And we had such a good time in Atlanta that on the drive back, we thought about transferring to Georgia Tech.
Oh, well, we all might have been playing for Georgia Tech, because we came to Freaknik after we lost to y'all. And I was like,
oh, yeah, we were like,
I'll go to Georgia State.
And we hung out with James Forrest and them, and I was just
And
like,
he's
man.
Mr. Atlanta.
Oh, he was Mr. Atlanta. Like, and so that was the only time, like, we really seriously thought about it. But no, we were young.
Yeah,
man.
no, just protesting.
Yeah.
When you go to the league and, you're drafted to my hometown, and I loved it. And the career that you had, when I talk to people about you, I used to work on different moves. And one move I took from you was you did the slow between the legs, and you would set people up. You didn't know if you would go slow crossover or if you would go slow dribble, or most of the times you dunked on people, especially that one dunk on Zoe is incredible, going crossover. Just I know you've talked about your time at the Pistons, but with you, Joe D, Allen Houston, like what was that like at that time?
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, first of all, let me just say with the handles. So I always wanted to be a guard. I mean, I think you liked to handle too back in the day when we were young. When I was in college, I would handle it like the big guys handle, with your back to the defender. I think like Smitty and Magic, Jalen did that. But in the summers, I'd play with it in front of me. And I remember before my rookie year in the league, we're playing pickup ball, and Quinn Snyder, he was coaching. He had been a coach with the Clippers.
Okay.
So he was like, dude, you can do that at the league. You don't have to play like this. You can play with the ball in front of you. And so for me, my favorite was like Chris Jackson and Tim Hardaway. But I couldn't go through the legs and cross. I could never get that. So then it kind of just morphed into the slow hezzy.
But you get us in the hezzy though, right here, we don't know what to do.
But I was trying to do like the bop bop, like that's what I wanted to do. And I used to practice that. I do it in pick, like I could never get that clean. So that's how that became that move, and then it became a weapon. Like I go through the legs, and maybe there was a little carry, but like I go through the legs, either hezzy go or cross back over. But so when I got to Detroit, at first it was rough because the team had won 20 games, and then my first year we won 28 games, and then we progressed to 46 and then 54. So here's the thing that was interesting. A lot was I don't know if it was timing or what, but like I came in and it was a bit of a whirlwind my first year, and it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable.
With the expectations of Jordan and
all that, like that wasn't. First of all, I felt like I was more Magic. I didn't have the flash, but I felt like I approached the game that way. But it was too much. I hadn't done anything. And it was almost like everybody wanted to put that mantle on me. And I'm trying to prove myself and establish myself. And so that was a little bit weird. And then I just, the reality is I had a lot of individual success. And my first 6 years, I put them up against anyone's first 6 years. But we didn't have the team success. And so the stuff on the court, the stuff off the court, I never really allowed myself to appreciate it or enjoy it, because that really wasn't what it was about. Like, to me, it was always about team success. Yeah. It was always about trying to win.
Yeah.
And so I didn't enjoy it. Now, it wasn't, I love Detroit. I love living in, despite what people might think because I left and whatever, and I've heard all different, rumors, which I can address. But it was just, I loved living there. I lived there year round. I didn't go home or anywhere else. I stayed in Detroit. It was just, I was miserable because we weren't winning, and I blamed myself. And so I didn't really fully take it all in and appreciate it until I wrote my book. And when you go through, and you know this, I mean, you've gone through the process. I say everybody should write a book.
I tell all my friends, write your own book, even if no one reads it.
It might not be published.
Right.
You'll find some peace. I look around and I see just, some memorabilia and sort of moments from your life and your career. And I'm just now doing that, showing that. And for so long, I never put anything up because I felt like I would get soft. And I felt like I wanted to keep pursuing. I didn't want to and so with the book and the process of writing the book, it forces you to live in moments. It forces you to go, okay, what was I thinking? What was I, and I think the process of writing the book, it allowed me to sort of man, that was pretty amazing. That was man, what I did and what I was fortunate to do and all of that. But when I was doing that stuff, the individual stuff and the stuff was happening, and look, I could have done Tim Duncan and just said, I'm not doing anything. I did commercials, I did all that stuff. But yeah, I just have a greater appreciation for it. but I didn't enjoy it. Like, it was just like until before every game, I would, national anthem. I remember in the Palace, I would look up, and I can see it now. Like, I'd look at the banners and I'd look at Isaiah's jersey, and like to me, that's what you're fighting. Like, that's what you're pursuing. That's the standard. And it was like, until I get that, I'm not going to give myself permission to enjoy.
And Grant, I don't think people get that.
Right.
Because it's lonely, and it's not a complaint or anything, but it's lonely because you're putting more on yourself than anyone. Because at those times, it's like I have commercials, I'm playing, and it's almost like, don't y'all know the rules? You're not supposed to just cheer that much for me because we're losing. And I'm gonna be the best player I can be, but it doesn't feel right. You said something that really hit home with me, because I know you love these young guys, these young hoopers, this talented era. They're incredible. I love the players that we have today. But I felt the way that I think you expressed yourself. You said that one time you were doing the game, and it was, I think, the 75 greatest.
Oh, yeah.
And because, very honestly, just to put it out there, there were everybody on there deserves to be on there.
No question.
And then it was some guys, I'm like, wait a minute, you only played 3 years? And even if you did win a championship this year, you may not play again because you're hurt, or you may not. Right. And so when I saw the 75, it brought, I stay relaxed. You know what I mean? Because I'm really KG. My mind is like KG. What we doing? But the body's like this.
We all got a little KG in it.
Yeah, we are, right? And so I'm looking, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you got to be crazy. I'll put my shoes on right now and let's go. We can only go to 6, but let's go, and I'll prove it. And it was a refreshing because it brought back my competitive spirit. It was depressing because I saw, wait a minute, this guy. But that's what I love about sports, is that area you can't define because you have that energy in you, because we are competitors, because you have to respect the guy. So what, you were supposed to be in it, but he made it. And so talk a little bit about that day, because you were like, you never really talked about,
So when the 50 greatest came out, it was 1997.
We were in Cleveland.
It was Cleveland.
Yeah.
The All-Star game.
Yeah.
We were on that team, and I think Doug Collins coached.
Yeah.
And so they had the whole celebration, and I was like, if they ever do another celebration, like, I'm gonna be on that team. Like, I'm telling myself that. Like, that's how I'm thinking. And so I'm working now TV, and I'm on the desk for the halftime show or whatever, because Kenny Smith is doing, it's All-Star Saturday, so he's doing the slam dunk and all that.
Yeah, he's doing his own.
And then Charles is one of the guys. So I'm up on the studio desk, and I got to talk about it. And I'm watching these guys, and like, it was hard. Like, it was like, and then you're looking at certain people, and you're like, all right, he should be there. And then you're like, and you start looking at guys in your era, and I'm like,
straight up.
And then I'm even like, I'm Googling, I'm looking at like accomplishments, like even with the injury,
right.
I got more All-Star, and so, so a couple things. Like, so that was a hard moment, and I got to go on air and talk about the moment, like, which was really, really interesting. Yeah. And we're pros, we do it, but I think two things, man. Like, two things for me to get to a point where I was at peace with my career. And because it was almost like an incomplete. And, people say, what if, and this, that, and the other. And, I think I, in a way, became obsessive about life after basketball to almost fill that void that was not there with my career. Wow. And that's not necessarily healthy. And now I'm trying to figure out how to, remove things from my plate and whatever. But like, I think that was part of the drive. Like, I got to prove. Yeah. And so, but I think the Hall of Fame, because we are constantly like pursuing greatness as an athlete, and it doesn't always happen. It doesn't. And so, if I had a great game, and let's say I, went out and triple-double, scored 30, whatever. I'm thinking about, man, them 4 free throws I missed.
Same, yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about what didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody's like that. I know I'm wired like that. And so as I look back on my career, I'm thinking about what didn't happen. And so So now you get into the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame as well. It's just like, you know what? Like, I don't know. I don't want to say it's the ultimate validation, but it makes it easier for those things that didn't happen.
Yeah, great
And
way
then
to put it.
the book, writing the book.
Yeah.
And just, you know, taking inventory of your life. You're so caught up in what's next, do this, do that. Okay, we win this game, I got to think about the next game. Or, you know, I got this business, like whatever. And you never sort of just take it all in.
Yeah.
And then like one of the lessons I learned, and I talked about like, you know, whether it's showing your stuff or like celebrating when you have wins and celebrating the wins when they happen and appreciating them. And I never did that.
You think because I've never done that either. Like my wife will, like my trophies are Rookie of the Year trophy. I couldn't, I give my father up. Do you think it's because we were taught from a young age, you got 24 hours to enjoy this win? I'm trying to think of where that come from. We won tonight, fellas. It's Wednesday. All right, you got till tonight to enjoy it. We got a game tomorrow. Like, were we taught?
You know what? I never thought about that. But like, yeah, like in the NBA, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because you play so many games, you can't dwell on it as much as maybe you could when you were younger. But even look, Coach K, I love him. He's given me incredible life lessons. One of the things he used to talk about was next play. Mm-hmm. And if something great happens on the floor, celebrate it, share emotion, but move on to the next play. Something bad happens, process it, learn from it, move on to the next play. But he's trying to keep you in the moment. And so all these things that are ingrained in you about how to be successful as a player, I don't know, like you don't have time to sort of like, okay, we beat Milwaukee and I did well against Big Dog. I got Pippen the next night.
Exactly.
I can't even,
Right.
Maybe that is it. Maybe that is it. And so, but yeah, like I'm cool, man. Like I'm cool with what happened. Look, I'll say this. When you were at my house and we were in high school, and I'm gonna say it for you. I don't even know if you feel this way, but I'm gonna say it for you. If we sat there and like wrote down our dreams and what we wanted to accomplish in basketball and in life at that moment, on the verge of like being in college and then next thing you know, the NBA, I don't know if our imaginations were big enough. I don't know if, and I can't speak for you, but I will speak.
No, you're speaking for me, please.
But like, I don't know if my imagination was big enough to do what I did, the good and the bad. And like, I was almost limiting what was possible.
If you would have wrote down everything,
Right.
Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, call a timeout, play for, I would have said, what? That's it? Sign me up 10 times.
Yeah.
Wait, add another one. You sure?
Yeah.
Because I wanted that dream that much. Yeah. And you're so right. And that's, it's certain things in my life that when it gets to certain moments, I automatically flash back to. And your house is one of those things because, again, the Olympic team, with our hand in the huddle, because I remember how pure it was, and I remember the dream. I remember the look on our faces. And like you said, being in that basement, is the impetus, for it all. So I definitely agree with what.
No, I don't think my imagination.
Wow.
And so anyway, I'm at peace with it. I think when you're young and we're both on this like great trajectory, you start thinking about legacy and look, you got to be self-absorbed to be a great athlete.
Yeah.
And then, and you go through some adversity, setbacks, whatever, and like all of that. Like I'm glad it all happened. The injury, all of it. Like I'm at peace with it. But I wasn't. It took me a minute to get there.
Yeah.
Like it took me a minute, and I was mad. I was mad at the doctors in Detroit and the doctors and the medical staff in Orlando. And it's just like, you know what? I'm here. I'm alive. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm going to enjoy it. But it took me going through and writing the book to realize that. I'm writing the book almost, for me, almost as a vanity play. You know what I'm saying? And in a way, it was kind of like therapy.
Then the substance smacks you in the face. No, same way. Because you really have to address all that, man. It's been, well, I could talk to you for hours. Just a couple more things. So, you stalked your wife before you got married.
What do you mean I stalked her?
What do I mean? You stalked her. I mean, first of all, my wife, Erica's the best woman in the world, but she knows I was married to Anita Baker in my head at one time.
Right.
So, first of all, you have Anita Baker.
Right. Well, yes.
And then you have your boys on the phone.
Well, yes.
I think you stalked. And then you were flying from Detroit after practice.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
Going to LA, flying back.
So I will address all three.
Yeah.
So
stalking your wife.
So Isaiah had his jersey retired my second year in the league. And it was a big production, as it should have been. And it was inspiring. You know, we were playing the Raptors, all the bad boys were there. Like, it was just a big moment. And then afterwards, there was a reception in the Palace. So I go on the reception, and Anita Baker's there with her then husband. And so, you know, right away, she's like an auntie. She's like, you must be breaking all the hearts, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, I'm embellishing here, but I'm like, man, I can't find the right person, blah, blah, blah. Like, you gotta help me out, you know, whatever. And so just saying that, just talking crazy, whatever. And so, unbeknownst to me, maybe less than a week later, she's in LA and she's at the Soul Train Awards. And Tamia's there. And Tamia's from Windsor, which, you know, I tell her it's not Canada, it's a suburb of Detroit.
That's true, right across the street.
So she was she sees Anita Baker, she goes right up to her. And she's like, oh my God, I'm the biggest fan, blah, blah, blah. I know all your songs, I grew up with you, blah, blah, blah. And Anita says, I know just the guy for you. And so, like, Tamia's like she didn't even acknowledge me. She didn't, you know, whatever. And so now there was no, you know, love connection right there. But then, you know, maybe a couple months later, we had been eliminated in the playoffs, and my boys were in town. They were living up there, and so they go out, and they were trying to get me to go out. They always wanted me to go out because, you know.
You tall, you stand up there, girls come around, they pick them up.
So I didn't go out, and I was still like upset about the playoffs. I'm still like, you know, still mourning, whatever. And so, so the crazy thing is, I guess there was the Andre Harrell Motown talent show, where he was going around to different cities looking for talent, and Andre Harrell was running Motown. So she was a judge at the talent show, and then there was a little after party. And so my boy called me and was like, yo, you should have come. I'm like, he's on the cell phone. I'm like, why? He said, man, Tamia's here. And I was like, for real? And by then she had You Put a Move was out, and so I was aware of who she was. But I'm like, oh, for real? And he was like, yeah, you want me to try to like, you know, I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, you know. And so then he calls back and he's like, hold on. And he gives her the phone.
Put you on the spot.
So we're talking. She's in this, you know, whatever party, whatever. And I'm like, and so then I'm like, I give him my number and keep so-and-so away from her. You always get that one boy.
Yeah. He really trying to talk to you. Hey, did you and Grant talk? So, hey, let me hook you up with that. You got to watch them.
So I didn't think she would call. Like, how would she know it was me?
Right.
Some dude just comes up and randomly gives you a phone and says, and so I'm thinking, like, she ain't gonna call or whatever. And so she called that night, and then, you know, we talked most of the night. Then the next day, this is Detroit right here. I went to pick her up in Windsor, and I took her to the Renaissance Center to the movies. And so we go see Twister.
Okay.
And then I take her to Fishbones.
Okay.
In Greek Town, and we go there, and I left my wallet in the car. And she pulled out her little, you know, she paid for it. I've been paying ever since. But no, that's pretty much how it happened. And so I got Isaiah to thank, I got Anita to thank.
Come on,
and
man.
then my boys, who, you know, they threw the assist. So.
How long have you guys been married?
We got married in '99. That happened in '96. So we'll be approaching 27 years.
Now, with most guys I know, because they're athletes or whatever, I know the position that their wives are in, where they're eating. Can I take a picture with you? Or, you know, when I'm with the kids or something, you know, you have to be accommodating. One good turn deserves another, I'm sure. Right. So how have you, I mean, I know it's your wife, you love her, y'all are together, but as a guy, did you have to relearn, like, you know, this guy's coming over, you know, shaking my wife's hand, or you know what I'm saying? I'm just mean she's beautiful, she's famous, and you're a G. I just want to know, like, how does that dynamic work from your perspective?
It happens. I mean, I think, look, I think she's short. You know, she's 5'4", 5'5", like most people who are in Hollywood. So she doesn't necessarily stand out. I think when people see her with me, they put, you know, and so, yeah, we'll be out and people recognize her, and they'll, you know, I've even taken pictures.
Oh, I'm sure. Dudes, get out the way, Grant. Hey, Tamia, get out.
But then I'll take a selfie.
Right.
You know, and,
or cut their head off.
But no, I mean, people recognize her, and as they should. And she has, you know, her following, her fan base, and particularly like when we go back to Detroit, like it's amazing. Like when we go to Detroit, oftentimes when she's performing, you know, the
Aretha Franklin, Shane Park.
I always say Shane Park, but
no, she tore it down with Kim. I mean, I've seen her perform three times maybe, and she's an awesome performer.
No,
but Detroit is not.
No, Detroit. I mean, it's like they embrace her as their own. But, you know, a lot of places, it happens, you know, and then, you know, sometimes, you know, so one thing, I mean, it was funny, I left, and I just got to address this because I'm defending her now, but I left Detroit, and I left it because I didn't like the way my ankle thing was dealt with. And we were actually, it's probably a good thing I didn't do this, but I was going to stay in Detroit, and I was going to buy the house in Rochester that Eminem ended up buying. So every time I see his house, I'm like, man, we were gonna buy that house. Right. So the plan was to stay, but I left and whatever. But then, like, it's brought to my attention. People thought I left because she wanted to pursue like a pop career.
I've never heard that.
They're like, he's left because his wife was, and I'm thinking, she hated LA. Right. She wanted to be in Detroit, and getting her, and then she loves where we are right now, but. Anyway, I just had to say that. Like, come on. Like, she didn't.
No. I love that
crazy, man.
I love you cleared that up because when I think of couples, any color couples, black, white, anything, you know, it's. I don't know how you could be proud of a couple, but we're proud of you guys. You know what I mean? We're proud that you guys share your love and kind of in your lives with everyone. You know what I mean?
But you know what? It's funny, man. Like, I mean, look, we have unusual lives and unusual careers. And maybe with the music industry, sports, to a lot of people, it's very glamorous. And it is. But we kind of have very normal lives. And so I think, and I give her the credit because, you know, I was pursuing and trying to get healthy, and, you know, the career and basketball, like, it's in season, it's out of season. And like, there's no deviating from that. And she wasn't as obsessed, and I don't want to say she wasn't obsessive, but like, she did her career on her terms. And so she valued family, she valued, you know, like, she wanted balance in her life. Okay. She went 6 years at one point, like, in between albums. And so she's had, you know, longevity. She's had an amazing catalog. She still has an incredible voice. You know, I'm almost envious because, like, I'm like, you can sing, you can do this for the next 20 years.
She's 90 years old, right?
I can't play ball no more. I'm done. Like, you know, I'm trying to play golf, which I'm terrible at. And so, like, but she was the one, I think, that made the sacrifice and make it really work, and where our kids are healthy and you know, we were engaged in their lives, and we have, you know, good relationships, and so that was important. But with, like our kids, they don't give us any love. Like, it's like, you know, I mean, my oldest daughter, she would be like, "Oh, y'all gonna lose to the Spurs." And, like, you know, I was in Phoenix, you know, and you know, the day we play the Spurs, she's wearing a Tony Parker jersey to the game, you know, and then you know, Mom, nobody listens to R&B. You gotta make some pop songs, you know. And so, like,
I love
it was just, you know, it kept things as it should be, you know, and the priority was the main thing was the main thing. And so, yeah, like I said, we have a great life, a great lifestyle. There's a lot of, you know, glamour, I guess, if you want to use that. But man, it's super normal. It's super, you know,
and you can tell that. I mean, you can tell when you meet her that this isn't a pompous relationship, that she's holding you down. And
Nah.
It's evident how much not only you guys love each other, you've been married forever, but the strength that you've been able to, how she's been able to strengthen you.
Right.
You know, I saw a story, if you could talk a little bit about it. I did not know how serious your injury was.
Right.
Meaning all the way to infection, to septic. I saw a funny story. It's funny now because you're healthy. But I saw a funny story Tamia told when you smacked her in the car. And I'm like, you over here smacking your wife, but you're in the back shaking.
Yeah.
She's rushing you to the hospital. Could you just talk a little bit about that? And
Yeah.
if you could add how her going through her discoveries and issues also later kind of translated with you.
Well, all of our sort of health stuff kind of came to a culmination in 2003. And so, you know, I had my 4th ankle surgery and, you know, had missed a good portion of 3 years. And then after the surgery, you know, at that point, you're kind of used to the surgery. Like, you know the routine, you know, it's going to 3 days, you kind of start to feel better, the pain goes away, you're on a cast for 2 months, whatever. And about 4 or 5 days after the surgery, I had the surgery on a Tuesday. And it was interesting because the doctor said he had a hard time closing the incision after the surgery. And I said, why? He said, well, you know, the bone calcifies, so the area there is thicker, and then the skin loses its elasticity when you cut it, and then, you know, you sew it back, you cut it open, you do it over and over again.
Wow.
So anyway, fast forward to like the surgery's on a Tuesday, Friday night, my temperature spikes to like 104. She calls the team doctor, and he's like, okay, you know, like, meet us at the hospital. I get in the car, I'm in the back seat of the car, and I got my foot propped up in the center console, and I'm right behind her. And I'm shaking, like my body is shaking, and she's thinking I'm being over dramatic.
Most wives do think that
you
as
know,
well.
like, you know, because so I'm in the back shaking, and you know, and I'm literally like shaking, and so we're going, down the highway, and she slams the brakes on, and I don't have a seatbelt on, so I hit the back of her car, and my arm comes around, and so now she's yelling at me. I'm in the back shaking, we're just, and so we get to the hospital. So she gets out, she's on the phone, I'm in the back shaking in the car, and she goes in to get somebody. She's trying to find the doctor, she's calling the doctor, he said he'd be waiting, so they come and they bring somebody, they get a wheelchair, they get me out, they wheel me in, we're at the wrong hospital. And so we went to the wrong hospital. And so she's like, get him back in the car. And they're like, ma'am, he needs to be attended. Get it, like she's yelling at them. So I get back in the car and like she's screaming, it's like chaos and I'm shaking.
She got a handprint on her face.
Yeah, and so then we get to the right hospital and, they're waiting for me. And they get me out of the car, they put me on the gurney, and like at that point, I think that's when we both realized like how serious it was. And so they're rushing me down the hallway, and they're trying to like keep me count backwards, talk, whatever. And so their sense of urgency kind of made us, like, okay, like this is serious. I felt this pressure on my chest. And it was almost like if you had you had a bunch of weight on the barbell, and you just like dropped it on your chest, or you had it on your chest. And I'm thinking like, man, I'm about to die. Like at that moment, I'm thinking, now I don't know, like I don't know how close I was or what, but I'd never felt that before. And it was almost like this weird, not out of body, but it was almost just kind of like you taking it all in. And you're like, man, I'm about to die. Like, this is crazy. They give me some medication, I think, that calms me down. They take the cast off, and like from my knee down, it's red and black. And so right away, they're like an infection. And so, yeah, I was sepsis, and I don't know if the incision opened and caused the infection, or if the infection caused the incision to open. But we didn't know that at that moment. There were no blood clots, because they were like, if you have blood clots, you can't play anymore.
And all of this,
This was in
It's from-
03.
And all this is from twisting and breaking
Breaking an ankle.
an ankle.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of
yeah.
fault, and it was a
Yeah.
little comedy of errors. But yeah, so at that point, yeah, that was April of 03. And so they sent me home, and I remember the doctor up at Duke said, things kind of stabilized. He said, "Can you send a picture?" Now this is 2003.
Right.
Like nowadays, you just take a photo and
Right,
you send
right,
it.
right, right.
Man,
You
it
call
took
it
us forever to
photography.
figure out how to
Right.
how do you take a photo and email the photo, and so we finally got that done, and that's when he told me. He said, "You have a hole in your ankle," and we saw it on film. We wanted to see it in person. And that's when I found out that I had a hole, and so we will.
You have a hole in your ankle.
Yeah, so the incision opened, and so we're going to admit you into the hospital, and we'll operate on Monday. And so I came with like one change of clothing.
All right.
I was in Durham for 2 months.
Oh.
So I remember they wheel me in, and I'm sedated, and the doctor, like, he's pacing back and forth, and I'm like, he's got his game face on. I'm ready, and the next thing I'm out.
Right.
And then I wake up, and so what he did was he said normally I would take like skin and tissue and arteries from your back, but since you may still play, we'll take it from your arm. And so essentially taking that as a patch over the ankle. And you're probably aware of the Alex Smith who played for the Redskins.
Yeah.
Very similar situation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
I know
the
what you're
same,
saying,
but
yeah.
similar. And so when I woke up, this is when I found out I was allergic to Percocet. So I woke up and the room is hot because the flap has to take. So it has to be hot in the room. I got my foot propped up. My shoulder is killing me because they had me in some awkward position.
Right.
Surgery was a 6-hour surgery. And I'm itching. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm
crackhead.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like Chris Rock in New Jack City. Like I'm itching everywhere. And Melo and them were winning the championship. And so I'm like, the game's on. And so anyway, I was in the hospital and they had to train the body to take so they had a Doppler radar in there. And so when they'd come in, they could hear the blood flow. And, and literally the room was hot. This is when I remember Tamia left. And at this point, it was like, well, I'm good, I'm stabilized. She went to do film, make the video for Officially Missing You.
Okay.
So that was happening
Wow.
when I was in that situation.
That's the one with Fab?
No, this is one, like she was in like Harlem, it's the slow song.
I know.
Officially Missing You.
Okay.
So yeah, I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks, had to train to put the leg below the heart. Like the first day was just 5 seconds, and then the next day was 10 seconds. And so anyway, I got discharged and I stayed at a hotel for 6 weeks, and I had a PICC line in my arm. And every 8 hours, I had to give myself vancomycin. And it would take about 45 minutes for it to go through my body. And that's like the last line of defense against, because the infection in the foot, in the bone. And so anyway, I got cleared and, went home, and I still got a broken ankle.
Right.
So anyway, came back, played 9 more years, wrote the book.
But they would have amputated. I mean, they.
Oh, so that's what I didn't know. So that's what I didn't really understand. So I came back, I sat out the whole 03-04 season, came back 04-05. And I think I made the All-Star game. I got voted in or whatever. But I did an article with Men's Health about, and nobody really understood what was going on with my ankle then. It's not like now where all the information, social media, whatever. And so I did a Men's Health interview, and I said, yeah, I got a skin graft. And my plastic surgeon called me when he saw the article. It is not a skin graft. It's a blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, man, whatever.
I ain't go to medical school.
Yeah. And so when I wrote my book, I called him, I said, like, I'm writing my book. Just write the 2 paragraphs, like, so I get it right. So he sends like 2 or 3 paragraphs of what he did, just so I could, he's not complaining and I get it right. And then he puts at the end, if this didn't take, then amputation was the only. And so I was like, I called him up.
No.
I'm like, Doc, you never told me amputation.
He was like, you didn't need to know.
And so I didn't know that. And so, so look, I mean, that's that on top of the 4, the ankle and all of that. Yeah. It was crazy.
Like you said, even looking back at the book is like, again, when you look back at all these things, it makes you more grateful. Because you go, wait a minute, I didn't understand. I could have had that amputated, and so I can only imagine, like you say, your wife is driving to the hospital. I have a wonderful wife. I know what they do behind the scenes, how they keep us going. How were you there for her? Because many times I've heard you say, I was there for her, but she inspired me.
Right.
And
well, shortly after that whole incident, we finally get through it. It's like 2 months later. It's like June, July. Like I'm off the crutches.
You're trying to come back too.
Well, no, at this point I'm like, man, look, I over basketball, like I'm done. Like
you talk about you lost your confidence, kind of?
Well, that too. But I'm just like, I'm not playing ball at this point. Summer of '03, I'm like, and then we go on a vacation in the Caribbean. We come back. And I don't, look, I don't want to tell her story. It's for her to tell. But like and she said this before, she noticed some pins and needles filling out the immigration forms. And so, did a series of tests and then found out that she had MS. And so, and that took, a few weeks to figure out. And so here we are, like, kind of relatively young couple, not married too long, young child. And like this, we joked, like we were literal through sickness and through health because we went through it. But, my situation got better. I was able to come back, but, just the whole notion of MS and something neurological and, something much more serious. And just how she's attacked it and hasn't, used it as an excuse. Sometimes you wouldn't even know that she has it. I mean, she still has her career. She's still a mom. She's still a great wife. And this was while I was going through my stuff. Right. And so that kind of
imagine that pressure. You getting ready for the game.
Right.
She kind of like.
But she's been good. Like thankfully, she's been good, and it reacts differently in everyone. There's no, everyone who gets MS, it's different. It's a different diagnosis, a different reaction, a different response. But yeah, like and so it was interesting in a way. It was horrible for my legacy to go through the ankle stuff, but to go through some stuff together, and to have to endure that, together, to have to, to be able to inspire each other, to be able to encourage each other. It strengthens you, and so yeah, I mean, thankfully we're good now. I can't run, I can't do anything because it's arthritis now. So I live, through her as an athlete. She's a tennis player. Yeah. And it's super competitive in tennis. And but yeah, I mean it was tough. It was a tough moment, tough season.
You better sing.
Stop.
Like the morning dew on southern pines, honey that bees leave behind. I'm gonna love you to the letter. If I know better.
You better go.
What up, though? It's Jalen Rose. All I want to say is go out and support my brother's book, God's Grace. We need this to be a bestseller. Love.
It's almost like you went through your wedding vows, the ones you're supposed to go through last, sickness and health. That's supposed to be the last part.
Right.
And I can only imagine how it strengthened you guys through that. Did it give you enough strength for both of you to be able to embrace a beautiful daughter, 2 beautiful daughters, one who is an MMA fighter knocking chicks out every day?
Yeah, I don't know if it prepared us for that. No, I mean,
Could you talk a little bit about
yeah.
your daughters? I mean, they're so athletic. I remember playing golf with you one time, and I saw
yeah.
one of them ride across on a boat on a little golf cart thing.
Right.
And I know your family's close and awesome, but can you talk a little bit about your daughter and MMA fighting? I have twins, 8-year-old and 9-year-old. My daughter, I didn't realize girls were that mean.
Right.
Till I had a daughter. Sugar and spice. She's sweet, but she be on her brother,
Right.
So, talk a little bit about like your 2 little sweethearts,
Right.
your babies, and
Right.
now they,
Nah, I mean, look, the greatest thing that I've ever done or been a part of is raising these incredible young ladies, and it's the most fulfilling and most rewarding, times the most challenging and most
Scariest.
frustrating and scary, but unbelievable. And your kids, man, they take you out of your comfort zone. They challenge you as a parent. They challenge your school of thought. But it's the best thing ever, and it goes by. What do they say? The days are long, but the years go by fast.
Yeah.
And when you're in it, you don't fully understand it. But our youngest is 18, and she'll be going off to college to play soccer. But incredible. Like they and I think one of the things that I'm proud of that we did was that like it was really all about them, and so they even my daughter was telling my MMA fighter who's 24 now. She was like, Dad, like you were in the league and like games, and you were like, you took me to school every day, you picked me up, you like play dates. I was a play date like super dad. Like I was the one picking up everybody, and we're going here, we're gonna go to Dave and Buster's and this, and like I was the dad that everybody had an SUV, and just like those were, one that kind of reminded me of my parents and like how involved they were with my friends, but you enjoy that, man, and you don't have them for long, and so you want to spend as much time with them as possible, and so but I mean it was the best, and it is the best, and seeing who they are and seeing who they become. Now teenage girls, it can be a little tricky, but it's worth it, and but we've. And then just to have like the relationship with them now, and they're adults or soon to be adults, and it's just a different dynamic. But I have pictures and I have videos, and I still think of them as daddy's little girls, and like playing with them, throwing them in the air, all of that stuff.
You get me nervous now because I'm thinking about my kids. I'm like, I got to take them on a play date today because I already see them 24. I'm like, yeah, don't. And with your kids, last question about the family dynamic. You talk about how for 16 years you played in the league. How many years you played? 18, 19, 16, 14? What?
I got paid 19 years.
Okay, there we go, 19.
But
I love it.
Technically I played 18, but even some of those years I did,
No, I'm
2 games
I
a
was
year.
15, but I think it was like 11. But for me, you talk about how Tamia for 19 years came to your game and was bored reading a book, chilling.
Right.
But now she's like super sports owner. I mean, you're the man, but with her in soccer and doing your thing, your youngest daughter in soccer, how has that been to see, your family embrace sport almost more than you?
So, it's funny, man. Like when Tamia and I first got together and got married, she was almost like in awe and just couldn't believe how much of a sports fan my mom was. Mm-hmm. And I would try to tell her, like, her and her dad used to go to Saints games. Oh, wow. And then she married my dad.
Right.
She really was a football fan. Like, that was her thing. And then now you have a child, and, from the time they're young and you follow. So, like, she's just had sort of different perspectives, through it all, different sort of vantage points. And, like, she's naturally going to be a fan.
Right.
And she's going to watch. And so I think Tamia is there now, not because of me. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Exactly.
but with the kids, she's she's become a fan.
Had to catch
And
that bug.
and so we go to soccer games, she's yelling at the official, and she's like, she kind of like, sometimes we yell the same thing. And then she'll yell things that I say. Yeah. But then she gets mad when I yell, because she says my voice is louder, but she can yell it.
Right,
And
exactly.
I'm like, and so anyway, but and then we go to soccer games. We're co-owners with the Orlando City men's team and the Orlando Pride women's team, and so like she's yelling, she's got a yellow card, she's waving.
Oh yeah, she's trying to get
And then sometimes the commissioner will be in the box over from us, and the game goes on. There's a bad call, or they don't call a foul. So she's looking over at the commissioner like,
like, what you gonna do? Oh no, she wilding at the game.
And so she's
so like Draymond Green at the soccer
it's cute,
game? No.
like it's cute. And then at the fights, so the funny story, our daughter's first amateur fight, she's fighting in Lakeland, Florida, about an hour from where we live. And our daughter they have the weigh-in the night before, and then she goes over with her team to the fight, and we drive, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes. And we're not saying a word. Nothing's on the radio. There's no music. Yeah. We're in the car, and it's just like it's just like, what are we doing? Like this is, and we get to the venue, and right away we get drinks. And we're down in and so we have to pregame.
Seriously.
And then I'm looking over, and she's like, beat her, get her, kick her, choke her, and she's yelling and screaming, and so I'm like, but you're pulling for your kids, and that's the sport, and so anyway, but she's a big sports fan, big tennis fan, and so
nice.
I used to call her Zena Garrison. And then she met Zena Garrison. She I didn't know there really was a Zena Garrison. I was like, yeah, now you get
now
it.
You get it, right.
But I know she'll watch Ben Shelton, the Australian Open. She's 3 a.m. watching it on her, and she's become a huge sports fan, and that's fun to watch. But really, the kids, you have the kids to thank for that.
That's cool. And going back into the basement is your life, but even with our private lives.
Right.
If it would have been go to Michigan, do this, and by the way, you get to marry this woman and you get to do this.
Right.
Everything, and I go back to that and I look at you as the 14-year-old kid in the basement like, dang, he's married and happy, and that's awesome. And something else in the basement that is incredible is you being a sports owner.
Right.
Because we never, as you said before, we may have never had the capacity to dream with that. And I had a group that went against yours to try to get the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I'd like to thank Mr. John Rogers, Ariel Investors, Dennis Archer, Senior, and others that really helped me. And it's so funny, I didn't have many people to share this with, but the Hawks had their situations, you had a group, I had a group, and it was a blind bid. Right. You won, you did your thing. And even in the midst of that, I was just like, this is really cool to be in this arena with really good people. And as you've ascended to team ownership and running USA basketball, just could you just summarize in whatever you want to address how, first of all, congratulations. Thanks for bringing home the gold. But how hard was it bringing players together? We, understand about, Jaylen Brown not being on the team, other guys, but you've never made excuses, you've never blamed anyone, you've never made anyone the bad guy.
Right.
But I'd love to just hear your perspective on winning it, because Mr. Colangelo, the league, they believed in you, which is awesome. Right. And just your perspective on how tough a road it is to navigate, how much fun it is, how you were in that position. I'm sure you look at you being an Olympian. Just talk a little about that.
Well, I think first of all, to the earlier point, to be able to still be around the game and have sort of tentacles in different areas. Man, look, we played a game for a living. You know what I'm saying? We went through ups and downs and whatever, but man, we didn't pick up the ball like thinking it would be a career. You pick it up because you love it, and you dream and you want to play and you have fun, and maybe you're good at it or whatever the case may be. And so to still be middle-aged and still be around it in a number of different ways, like it's really cool. And one of those ways is with USA Basketball. And it's a funny story. I don't know if I've told this story. So, so Dwayne Wade, this was right before COVID, and he had joined TNT, and they had a rehearsal, I guess, before his first time on TV. So I'm in the studio, and I'm talking to him, and I just talked to Lloyd Pierce, who was the coach then for the Hawks, and Lloyd was on Craig Popovich's staff.
Okay.
And in 2019, they played in the World Cup. So now this is January of 20. So we're downloading, I go to practice, and Lloyd, we're talking about what happened and this, that, and the other. And I know that Jerry is gonna step down after the Olympics. So I go to Wade, I'm like, wait, like, you should take Jerry's spot. And he's looking at me like, man, I don't wanna do that mess. Like, he's looking at me like it's the dumbest idea ever.
Okay.
And so I thought about it for like weeks, and I'm like, man, that's not a bad idea. Like, what is he talking about? Like, he just retired, he doesn't understand. Like, I'm thinking, then I'm like, I can do that. Like, I start thinking like, well, maybe I'll do it. And so, a year later, I was announced in that role. But it's incredible, man. Like, you get a chance to have that role, that responsibility. It's not ceremonial. There's really hard decisions. You gotta disappoint people. You can't put everybody who's talented or everybody who's maybe worthy on the team and on the roster. You get criticized for the roster, you get criticized for this. But the ultimate goal is to win. And thankfully we did. And if not, then I probably wouldn't be let back in the States. But it was great. And for me, what I've tried to do, and you retire and you try a bunch of different things, and I said, okay, like, I want to play in 3 sandboxes. Like, there's 3 things I want to do. Sports, business, and leadership. And if I can somehow work in those arenas, and sometimes they overlap, in certain areas. And so for me, it was an opportunity. All the experiences I've had as an athlete, as an owner, as a captain on a team and different leadership roles, like now to be in this role and have this responsibility, like, it was awesome. And then just, cognizant of the fact that, we don't have many of us in these types of leadership roles. So, hopefully you're helping to change perceptions and show that we can use our intellect to have success, just as we use our bodies, on the court. And hopefully, whatever my tenure inspires the next former athlete, maybe African-American athlete or what have you. And so, like, all of that, it's exciting, and but it's also a responsibility. And so, and like I said, you have to sometimes make decisions that are hard, but despite what people might think, they come from a pure place and an honest place. And but man, you get to the NBA Finals or you get to the Final Four, it's disappointing if you lose. It's hard, but you're not going to lose your job if you lose.
Right.
Like, you can justify it or rationalize it as, you know what, we had a successful year.
Yeah.
Man, for us, it's gold
or bust.
Or bust.
Wow.
And
with the rest of the world knowing that and trying to catch up in real time as well.
There was a beautiful moment that I'm not sure we could ever have. And that was Serbia, who played an incredible game in the semifinals.
Yeah.
And they were worthy of winning, and we were fortunate to pull out and win the game. And then those guys came back and they beat Germany in the bronze medal game. Man, they celebrated like they won the gold medal. Mm-hmm. And it was something beautiful about that, like celebrating the wins, no matter what they are.
That's right, yeah.
But no, like, the pressure, the standard, the expectations, like it's gold or bust. It's taking a test and either acing it 100% or getting a 0. And so you felt that, like that was real, and but it was awesome.
Yeah.
The hard part, we've worked in TV, and TV's great, and we can be engaged in the game. We can coach the game, explain the game. We can live the game, but there's a detachment because you don't live and die with the results. You don't feel that. And as a former player, we're accustomed to living and dying with the results, the ups and the downs. And like this, you live and die with the results. Or, I remember the one thing I remember, like you're competing, and like the Serbia game, it's like, all right, halftime, we'll regroup. It was a bit of a, it was a trap game because we had blown them out the 2 games before. But like, they got our attention, we'll regroup, we'll come out in the 3rd quarter. And then midway through the 3rd quarter, they got a bigger lead. Yeah. And then it's like the end of the 3rd quarter, they've extended the lead.
I was nervous.
And so at that point, like you're competing, you're like, all right, get this. Yeah, you're watching, because you can't do anything.
That's right. Yeah.
But you're still competing. And then between the 3rd and 4th quarter, that's when it's like, oh, we might lose. And then I'm thinking, if we lose, how am I getting these guys for the bronze medal game? Half these guys might leave.
Exactly, Cancun on 3.
And so, but to their credit, I mean, like that 4th quarter was absolutely amazing. And they just willed that game. And, obviously, it was everybody. Steph, Joel played big, LeBron, KD, like all those guys wouldn't let us lose. And it was an iconic moment. Yeah. And here's the thing, too. If we had blown them out and then maybe blown out France, I'm not sure if it would have meant as much. But the path and how it unfolded and how we won that gold medal, I think all those guys on that team, it means something because they know they had to really dig deep to get it. And so, and look, I'm still in the role, 28's around the corner. Doesn't get any easier, but we're up for the challenge and we look forward to the opportunity.
Man, it's awesome, man, and go USA, way to bring back the gold.
Yeah. Thank you.
What I'm doing, Jalen Rose, founder of JRLA, and all I know is this: we need some copies for our scholars, see well, because your story, your journey of how you were raised and the turbulence that you overcame needs to be shared with our scholars. Give us some free books.
Welcome back to the Chris Webber Show, the podcast. I don't know if we're going to call it yet, but it's funny, G. David not only had his number retired at Central Michigan, his jersey retired, but when you and I talked about not being able to enjoy things for the moment, I think David has gone through that with his career, with me being his older brother and things like that. And so he's going to school to get his degree, went to Northwestern, even though that's not Michigan. I guess it's okay, but he works with athletes. He works with many people, children, athletes, all of the many people that have gone in stress, trauma, and others. And so today I'm really glad that you and I got to talk about just how people can inspire you, what you go through, how you can take account, how you can appreciate it later. And I wanted Dave maybe to tell you a little bit about your influence and how he's always appreciated a kind gesture from you.
Yeah, for sure. So as a therapist, I have the honor of hearing people's stories. Oftentimes, the first time they share the story is with me, particularly if it's related to trauma, betrayal, but also when it's love, hope, joy, and inspiration. And in terms of the way you inspired me, I have a lot of stories. But first and foremost, I wanted Chris to go to Duke, number one.
My man.
I wanted Chris to go to Duke at the time.
We had a house vote.
Yeah.
That's what's funny that he voted for Duke.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was at the time in 1991, I was 11. So there's five kids, Chris, Jeff, Jason, myself, and Rachel, and Rachel wanted you to go to
Michigan State.
To Michigan State. Jason wanted you to go to Michigan or Michigan State, and Jeff wanted you to Michigan. And I wanted Chris to go to Duke, not only because they were great academically and everything else, but I wanted him to play with you. Right. And this is as a kid, 11-year-old kid, I'm watching the game like it's, you know what I mean? So whether it's UNLV and you know, Anderson Hunt.
Even with his bad haircut, you want
everything. No. So whether it's UNLV, Anderson Hunt, Stacey Augmon, Larry Johnson, or I'm watching Kenny Anderson at Georgia Tech, or whoever we're watching at the time, they were, you know, all inspiration. But Grant Hill for me was beyond inspiration. There's only 3 people I've ever been nervous around. Being with you, I'm around celebrities, meet people all the time, et cetera. 3 people I've ever been nervous around. You can hear it in my voice, and that's Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, and Grant Hill. Oh, wow. Those 3 people, especially Zeke and Grant, for me, were just incredible inspirations. In high school, in 1996, I went to Detroit Country Day School. I only wore 2 signature shoes while at Country Day. I wore your shoes.
And that's all you should have wore.
And I wore Grant Hill shoes.
How you gonna wear somebody else's shoes? Your brother got a deal.
Grant Hill, 96 Filas. Yeah. I mean, I was the biggest fan of Grant Hill, and I wanted to be like Grant Hill. Actually, I wanted to go to Duke. I wanted to play with Woj. In my mind, going to Duke was like the ultimate as an athlete. Obviously, I wasn't good enough to play there, but just from an inspiration standpoint. So not only in 91 did I want him to go there, not only in 96 was I wearing your shoes and wanting to be like you, but also there's this other piece. And oftentimes, again, there's stories that people don't tell. And sometimes you're the first person to ever tell the story to. And so people don't know this story. I know you know this story, but no one else knows this story, that in 1992, when University of Michigan is playing Duke University, and for the national championship game, you lose the game. We're in the stands, we're watching. We're way up too, by the way. I don't even have a Michigan t-shirt. We couldn't afford it. And so we're watching the game, and we're just like, you know, we're sad, but at the same time, we're happy that you even got there in the first place. And I'm not sure exactly when this happened, but I used to always ask you to hook me up with player shoes, like, right? And so over the years, he got me something from Isaiah Thomas and Muggsy Bogues and whoever it may be at the time. But he got me something from Grant Hill that not only inspired me, but changed my life. In college, I wore number 11 because of Isaiah Thomas. But there's one piece of memorabilia that I held on to that I never let go of because it came from you. So after the championship game, I'm assuming it was that summer. I'm only 12 at that time, so I'm assuming it happened that summer when you all were playing versus the Olympic team. Chris brings me back.
Was it that?
Grant Hill's jersey.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know.
I thought it was after the game.
I thought it was after the game.
No. I don't think it was right after the game, because when I got it, I think you brought it to me. So you may have just gave it to me after the game.
I think he gave it to me after the game.
Yeah, he may have gave it to you after the game, but you gave it to me. You came home during the summertime, and you gave it to me. He was like, "This from Grant," and I was just like, I'm bald. I couldn't, and I kept on this chair. And mind you, we in the hood, so there's no security alarm. there's no, and you got, and I had Grant Hill's championship jersey.
Right.
This is why that's important. People talk about Duke versus Michigan. People talk about this supposed beef and those types of things. When in reality, Grant was a friend, you know. And I know my brother, so there's not a lot of people he mess with, you know what I mean? So people don't know the behind the scenes stuff. They know what they hear in newspapers, they know what they hear in magazines. What they don't know is the friendships that happen off the court. And so people can introduce beefs and issues between players that none exist.
Right.
And for you to give him a jersey to give to me after you won a national championship game is insane. That was insane. And that's a story I'd never shared. And so today, what we want to do is first off say thank you for inspiring me, and we want to give you back.
No, don't
Absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
I gave it to you,
absolutely.
man. No.
Absolutely. We
on,
want to
man.
give you back what you gave, you gave to me, and inspired.
I gave it to you, man.
I'm gonna grab the shorts too. What you gave to me and inspired me. This is what Grant Hill gave me at 12 years old.
Hold on, I know. Just keep
go
shooting.
get it.
I
Yeah.
know it's
This is
not.
what Grant Hill gave me at 12 years old after the national championship game, after they beat Michigan. And we want to get this back to you, man, and to leave a legacy for your children, your future grandchildren, and for your family, because you've left a legacy with us.
Man,
And
I appreciate
take
that,
these
man.
tight ass shorts too.
Yeah, he gave me the whole outfit,
That is crazy.
which is insane. And I was talking to a friend. They were like, "You know how much that's going for online?"
Man, you
I
didn't
said, it's the right thing to do. I want you to have a legacy for not only your children but your grandchildren as well. So we love you, man. We appreciate you, and thank you for being an inspiration to me and my family as well.
First of all, I appreciate the kind words and just the gesture and all of it, man. Like this is overwhelming, surprising. I don't even feel comfortable taking it because I gave it to you.
I understand.
Trust, I told him. I said I'm about to sell it. He's like, no.
But understand, like I don't like. I'm not sure we knew each other.
No.
But I just knew that you were a Duke fan.
Yeah.
And so because of my friendship, to your point, with Chris, it was like, like that's his brother. He's a Duke fan. I wasn't doing it to rub it in or nothing like that.
I was thinking, wait, did he?
No, it was
did
just.
he do that
it
just to
was-
have this in the house?
But
or
I think
something?
what you said, you captured it well. Like, I get it, man. Like, sports is beautiful. There's passion. There's like people want to compete. They hate a team. They love a team. All of that. But like, there really was friendship. There was love. There was respect. And despite what people might think, and so that was on the strength of my friendship with him. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, bro. You have to do that.
No doubt.
You sure, man?
No doubt.
Like,
No, for sure.
I gave that to
100%.
you.
If you ain't sure, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Grant,
Sell it,
trust me,
burn
though.
it.
It's for your
man.
grandkids, man. Your future
Thanks,
grandkids.
Oh, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate you,
Yeah,
man.
man, I appreciate
we love
you, man. Love you, man. Thank
No
y'all,
doubt.
man. Y'all
No doubt.
family, man.
No doubt.
That's awesome. Look at this. They are tight.
Stockton's. Hopefully you guys
man,
out
y'all-
there, we gave you some
Man, come on,
really
man.
authentic and vulnerable moments.
Yeah,
and
look at this.
Go out and inspire somebody. Go out and inspire someone. You never know what kind words or a kind gesture could do.
That's crazy.
That's it. That's a wrap for the first one. Love you, brother.
Man, love you too, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Chris Webber Show. I want to leave you with a clip that I hope shows you the power of sport, but also brightens your day. Peace.